There are forces in the universe that even the Valar did not foresee when they sang the world into being. Powers that exist beyond the boundaries of Arda, in realms where different laws govern reality and strength flows from the spirit itself rather than the grace of Eru. On a night when the stars burned with unusual brilliance over the wilderness of Eriador, one such force arrived in Middle-earth, not through the will of Morgoth or the design of Sauron, but by sheer cosmic accident. The impact shook the ancient hills east of the Shire. A golden light, brighter than any star, streaked across the darkened sky and struck the earth with the force of a falling mountain. Trees bent away from the shockwave. Stone cracked. A crater 20 feet wide appeared where moments before had been a peaceful clearing, and from that crater rose smoke and the strange scent of ozone and something else, energy, raw and vital, that had no place in the fading magic of the Third Age. Goku lay at the bottom of that crater, dazed and confused, his orange ji torn and smoking. The last thing he remembered was training with Vegeta, pushing his instant transmission to its absolute limit, trying to teleport across entire galaxies in a single jump. Something had gone wrong. The technique had latched onto a Kai signature that shouldn't exist, or perhaps it had found a tear in the fabric between worlds. Either way, he'd been pulled through a tunnel of screaming light and deposited here in a place where he could sense no Ki signatures at all. Nothing. It was like being struck suddenly deaf in one ear. He sat up slowly, shaking his head to clear it, and looked around. The moon hung full and bright above him, but it was wrong somehow. Older, more distant, as if it had witnessed things no moon should see. The stars, too, felt different. Ancient, watching. "Well," Goku said to the empty night, climbing to his feet and brushing dirt from his GI, "this isn't Beerus's planet." He floated up out of the crater with barely a thought, Ki lifting him as naturally as breathing. The landscape spread out before him in the moonlight, rolling hills covered in long grass, clusters of dark forest, and far to the east, mountains that scraped the sky like the teeth of some buried god. Everything felt old here. The rocks, the trees, even the air itself seemed to carry the weight of ages he couldn't begin to count. His stomach growled, loud enough to startle a nearby owl into flight. "Right," Goku laughed, scratching the back of his head. "First things first. I need food, and I need to figure out where I am." He reached for his Kai sense, trying to locate the nearest power level, and found nothing. Absolutely nothing. Either everyone here was weaker than farmers on Earth, or something about this place was interfering with his ability to sense energy. That was new, and slightly concerning. He picked a direction, east, toward those impressive mountains, and began walking. Flying would be faster, but he'd learned over the years that showing up in a new place by dropping from the sky tended to make people nervous. Better to approach on foot, look friendly, maybe find someone who could explain where he was and point him toward food. The night deepened around him as he walked. Strange sounds echoed from the forests, howls that weren't quite wolves, rustlings that seemed too deliberate to be wind. Goku's hand drifted unconsciously toward a fighting stance, combat instinct reading thread in those sounds, even if his Ki sense remained frustratingly blank. Something was out there in the darkness, multiple somethings, and they were watching him. A twig snapped behind him. Goku spun, dropping into a ready position, and found himself facing a tall figure wrapped in a travel-stained cloak. The man, and it was a man, Goku could see that much in the moonlight, stood perfectly still about 30 feet away, one hand resting on the hilt of a sword at his hip. His face was shadowed by a hood, but his eyes caught the moonlight, gray and measuring and very, very wary. "That's far enough, stranger," the man said quietly, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. "These are dangerous lands for those who travel alone and unarmed." His gaze flicked over Goku's empty hands, The unusual clothing, the complete lack of visible weapons. Especially for those who fall from the sky in pillars of light and leave craters in the earth. Goku straightened out of his fighting stance, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. "Hey, sorry about that. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I'm just a little lost. Can you tell me where I am? And maybe where I could find some food. I'm starving." The hooded man didn't move. Behind him, other shapes materialized from the darkness. 4, 5, 6 men, all armed with bows and blades, all watching Goku with the same careful wariness. They moved like warriors, like people who'd survived by being cautious, and Goku respected that, even as he wondered what kind of place required ordinary people to be so heavily armed. "You claim to be lost," the man said, "yet you walk through the wild as if you fear nothing. You wear no sword, carry no provisions, and when I approached from behind, you turned faster than any man I've ever seen." He took a single step forward, and starlight finally illuminated his face. Weathered, bearded, with the kind of eyes that had seen too much sorrow and too much war. "So I ask you plainly, what are you? And what brings you to Eriador in these dark times?" Goku considered the question. How did you explain being a Saiyan from Earth to someone who clearly had no idea what either of those things were? How did you describe Ki, Super Saiyan transformations, or instant transmission to people who traveled on foot and fought with swords? "My name's Goku," he said finally. Deciding on honesty, it usually worked best. "I'm a martial artist from very far away. I was training, trying a new technique, and I guess I ended up here by accident. I don't know where here is exactly, but I promise I'm not your enemy." He smiled, that open, genuine expression that had earned him friends across universes. "Actually, I'm hoping we can be friends. You seem like a strong fighter, I can tell by the way you move." The hooded man studied him for a long moment, and Goku had the distinct impression he was being weighed and measured by someone who knew how to read warriors. Finally, the man's hand moved away from his sword hilt. Not much, but enough. "My name is Strider," he said. "And you have landed in Middle-earth, in the realm of Eriador, in an age when darkness spreads from the east and evil things walk freely under the moon." His gray eyes never left Goku's face. "If you truly came here by accident, then you have my sympathy and my warning. This is not a land for the innocent or the unprepared. Shadow covers these hills, servants of the enemy patrol the roads, and strangers who fall from the sky in light and thunder, they draw attention. The kind of attention no sane man desires." From the east, as if summoned by his words, came a sound that made Goku's spine straighten and his fists clench. A shriek, high and terrible and filled with a hunger that had nothing to do with food. It echoed across the hills, and the armed men behind Strider shifted nervously, hands tightening on weapons. Strider's face went grim. "Quickly," he said, all hesitation gone from his voice. "Into the trees, move silently. And whatever you do, stranger from far away, do not let them see you. Not yet. Not until we know what you truly are." But Goku was already looking eastward toward the source of that shriek, his combat instinct analyzing threat level, calculating distance and speed. Something was coming, something that made even these hardened warriors afraid. And in the pit of his stomach, Goku felt an answering excitement, the old familiar thrill that came before every good fight. "What was that?" he asked, grinning despite the tension in the air. Strider looked at him like he'd gone mad. "That," he said quietly, "was a ring wraith, a Nazgûl, one of the 9, servants of the Dark Lord Sauron. And if it caught your scent when you arrived—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Goku's grin widened. Maybe this place wouldn't be so boring after all. Strider led them through the wilderness with the skill of someone who knew every stone and shadow of these lands. His rangers moved like ghosts around them, silent and watchful, while Goku followed with steps far quieter than his cheerful demeanor suggested. Years of martial arts training had taught him how to move without sound when necessary, even if he preferred the straightforward approach. They traveled through the night, keeping to valleys and dense tree cover, always moving west and south. Twice more that terrible shriek echoed across the hills, and each time Strider's expression grew darker. The third time it sounded closer, and the ranger finally called a halt in a dell sheltered by ancient oaks. "They're hunting," Strider said quietly, his gray eyes scanning the eastern horizon. "Searching for something or someone. Your arrival did not go unnoticed, Goku. That light, that impact. The enemy has eyes everywhere, and the Nazgûl are his most terrible servants." He turned to face the Saiyan directly. "Tell me true. Are you a servant of Sauron? Did he summon you from whatever distant land you claim as home?" Goku shook his head firmly. "I've never heard of this Sauron guy. Like I said, I got here by accident." He paused, considering how much to reveal. "But if he's the one sending those things to hunt me, then I guess we're already enemies. I don't like bullies, and anyone who makes people this scared." He cracked his knuckles, that familiar pre-fight energy building in his chest. "Well, maybe I should go have a talk with him." One of the rangers, a younger man with a bow, laughed nervously. "He speaks of confronting the Dark Lord as if suggesting a visit to market." But Strider wasn't laughing. He was studying Goku with new intensity, weighing something in his mind. "You move like a warrior, yet you carry no weapon. You speak of this Sauron as if his name means nothing, yet you show no fear of the Nazgûl. And there is something about you," he trailed off, shaking his head. "Something I cannot name, a strength that has nothing to do with muscle or blade." "That's my key," Goku explained, happy to have something concrete to discuss. "It's life energy. Everyone has it, but most people don't know how to use it. I've been training since I was a kid to control mine, make it stronger." He held up one hand, and after a moment's concentration, a small sphere of golden energy formed in his palm. Bright, warm, and utterly impossible by every law of magic that governed Middle-earth. The rangers gasped and drew their weapons. Strider's hand went to his sword hilt, but he didn't draw. He simply stared at that impossible light, his weathered face caught between wonder and concern. "That is no magic I know," he said slowly. "Not the sorcery of Saruman, nor the dark arts of the enemy, nor even the ancient power of the elves." He took a careful step closer, and Goku noted with approval that despite his obvious wariness, curiosity was winning out over fear. "You can create light and heat from nothing but will?" "It's not nothing," Goku corrected, letting the energy sphere dissipate. "It comes from inside me, from my spirit, my training, my life force. And I can do a lot more than just make light." He grinned. "Want to see something really cool?" "No," Strider said flatly, though a hint of amusement touched his eyes. "Not with the Nazgûl already searching these hills. Your ki burns like a beacon in the darkness. I saw it clearly even at 30 paces. He paused, considering. "But if what you say is true, if you are not a servant of the enemy, and if you possess power unknown to the Dark Lord, then perhaps you are something else entirely. Perhaps you are what the old song spoke of, a sign, a turning point." Before Goku could ask what he meant, another shriek split the night, close enough that they could hear the thunder of hoofbeats accompanying it. The Rangers immediately doused their small fire and drew into defensive positions around the dell. Strider moved to Goku's side. "If they find us, can you fight?" Goku's eyes lit up. "Can I ever? Then prepare yourself, warrior from far away, because the Nazgûl do not tire, do not stop, and do not show mercy. They are death on black horses, and their master's will drives them forward without rest." Strider drew his sword, the blade gleaming in the moonlight. If we must fight, aim for their mounts. The ring-wraiths themselves cannot be slain by ordinary blades, but their horses are mortal enough. Goku nodded, dropping into a ready stance, but inside he was puzzled. Couldn't be killed by normal weapons? That was interesting. Back home, even the toughest enemies could be hurt if you hit them hard enough. Maybe these ring-wraiths were like ghosts. He'd fought ghosts before. They usually didn't like Kai blasts. The hoofbeats grew closer, closer. Then without warning, they stopped. Silence fell over the dell, heavy and oppressive. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Goku's combat instinct screamed danger, but he still couldn't sense any key signatures. It was like fighting blind, relying only on his hearing and the subtle shifts in air pressure that years of battle had taught him to recognize. A voice spoke from the darkness beyond the trees, cold, hollow, emptied of all humanity. We know you are there, mortals. We smell your fear. And we smell something else, something new. Something that does not belong to this world. Strider's jaw clenched, but he remained silent, signaling his rangers to do the same. The voice continued, seeming to come from multiple directions at once. Our master is curious. Our master wishes to know what fell from the stars. Surrender the stranger, and you may flee with your lives. Resist, and you will know despair beyond death. Goku stepped forward before Strider could stop him, moving into a shaft of moonlight where the ring-wraiths could clearly see him. "Hey!" he called out cheerfully. "If your master wants to meet me, he can come himself. I don't really do the whole surrender thing." The temperature dropped 10 degrees in an instant. Frost formed on the grass, and from the shadows emerged a figure on a black horse, tall, robed, crowned with a circlet of pale metal. Where its face should have been, there was only darkness and the suggestion of eyes that burned with cold fire. "Foolish," the Nazgûl hissed. "You do not know what you face. You do not know the power of Mordor. You do not know—" It stopped. The ring-wraith's head tilted as if sensing something it couldn't quite believe. When it spoke again, there was something new in its voice. Uncertainty. "You have no fear. Why do you have no fear?" Goku shrugged, smiling. "I've fought gods and demons and emperors who could destroy planets. You're scary, sure, but..." He let a tiny fraction of his ki flow to the surface, just enough that the air around him began to shimmer with heat. "I'm pretty strong, too." The Nazgûl reared back on its horse as if struck. The other rangers gasped, because for just a moment Goku's aura had become visible, golden, blazing, utterly alive in a way that stood in defiant opposition to the death-cold power of the ring-wraith. "Impossible," the creature breathed. "You are mortal. You must fear. You must despair. All mortals—" "I'm not from around here," Goku interrupted. "And I'm getting kind of tired of people telling me what I have to do. So either fight me or leave these people alone. Your choice." For a long moment, the Nazgûl simply stared at him. Then it turned its horse and melted back into the shadows. Its voice echoed one final time. "Our master will hear of this. He will want to meet you, warrior. And then you will understand the meaning of fear." The oppressive cold lifted. The ring-wraith was gone. Strider slowly sheathed his sword, his hands not quite steady. "I have walked Middle-earth for more years than you might believe," he said quietly, "and I have never seen a Nazgûl retreat from a single unarmed man. What are you, Goku?" Goku powered down his kai, the golden shimmer fading from his skin. "Just a guy who likes to fight," he said honestly. "But also a guy who doesn't let bad people hurt good people. These ring-wraith things, they work for someone evil, right? This Sauron? They are his most terrible servants," Strider confirmed. 9 kings of old, corrupted by rings of power, now nothing but shadows and malice bound to the Dark Lord's will. He looked eastward, toward the distant darkness of Mordor. And you just made yourself their primary target. The Nazgûl will report to Sauron. He will want to understand what you are, how you resisted their fear, whether you can be used or destroyed. Let him try, Goku said cheerfully. Then his stomach growled again, loudly enough to make one of the Rangers jump. But seriously, do you guys have any food? I'm starving. Despite everything, the terror, the impossible display of power, the retreat of a Nazgûl. Strider found himself laughing. It was a small laugh, surprised and genuine, and it broke the tension like dawn breaking through storm clouds. Come, he said, gesturing westward. I will take you to Rivendell. If any in Middle-earth can make sense of what you are, it will be Lord Elrond. He is wise beyond the measure of mortal men, and he has lived through ages you cannot imagine. If there is a place for you in this world, or a way to return you to your own, he will know it. Rivendell, Goku repeated, testing the word. Sounds fancy. Do they have good food? Strider smiled, a rare expression that made him look younger. The elves are many things, Goku. They are wise, ancient, powerful, beyond mortal understanding. But yes, they also have excellent food. Then let's go, Goku said, already starting westward with the boundless energy that characterized everything he did. And maybe on the way you can tell me more about this Middle-earth place. It seems pretty interesting so far. As they walked through the night, Strider began to speak of the ages of the world, of the Dark Lord's return, of the growing shadow in the east. And Goku listened, filing away names and places and powers, slowly beginning to understand that he had landed in a world at war. A war between light and darkness, good and evil, hope and despair. It reminded him of home. And despite the strangeness of everything, despite being separated from his friends and family, Goku felt something familiar stirring in his chest, the desire to help, to protect, to stand against darkness wherever it appeared. He didn't know it yet, but Middle-earth was about to change. The arrival of a Saiyan warrior, pure of heart, impossible in power and utterly incorruptible, was not part of any prophecy or song. It was something new, something unpredicted. And in the dark tower of Barad-dûr, the eye of Sauron turned its attention westward, seeking to understand this anomaly that had appeared in his world, this warrior who did not fear, this power that should not exist. The Dark Lord was curious, and when Sauron became curious, Middle-earth trembled. The journey to Rivendell took 6 days, and in that time Goku learned much about Middle-earth, though perhaps not as much as Middle-earth learned about him. Strider's Rangers proved to be excellent traveling companions once they got over their initial fear. They taught Goku the names of the lands they crossed, the Weather Hills, the Lone Lands, the last bridge over the Horwell. In return, Goku shared stories of his own world, carefully edited, since explaining space travel and alien races seemed like it might be too much too fast. He stuck to the basics, training, tournaments, protecting Earth from threats. The Rangers listened with the polite skepticism of men who'd heard many tall tales around campfires. But when Goku caught a deer in mid-leap with his bare hands, moving faster than their eyes could track, skepticism began shifting toward belief. On the 3rd day, they were ambushed by orcs, twisted, cruel creatures that came howling out of a ravine with rusty blades and murder in their yellow eyes. Strider and his Rangers formed a defensive circle, prepared for a hard fight against a dozen enemies. Goku stepped forward, cracked his knuckles, and ended the battle in 30 seconds. He didn't kill them. Killing had never been his first choice unless absolutely necessary. But a few strategic strikes, moving too fast for the orcs to track, left the entire warband unconscious and thoroughly confused about what had hit them. One moment they'd been charging toward easy prey. The next, they were waking up with splitting headaches and a lingering terror of the orange-clad warrior who'd moved like lightning and struck like thunder. After that, the Rangers stopped being skeptical. Now they just looked at Goku with a mixture of awe and concern, the way people looked at something powerful and wonderful and potentially very dangerous. "You're not human," said Halbarad, one of Strider's most trusted men on the fourth night. "Not as we understand it. No man alive can move as you do, strike with such force and show no signs of weariness." "I'm a Saiyan," Goku corrected. "We're a warrior race. Fighting is kind of what we do best." He grinned. "But yeah, I'm a lot stronger than most humans from my world, too. I've been training my whole life." Strider, who was sitting nearby sharpening his sword, looked up. "A warrior race," he mused. "There are tales, very old tales, of the valor creating different kindreds, elves, men, dwarves, each with their own gifts and fates. But no song or story speaks of your people, Goku, which means you come from beyond the circles of this world, beyond even the undying lands." "If you say so," Goku said, not entirely sure what any of that meant. "I just want to figure out how to get home. My wife's going to be really mad if I miss dinner." He paused, then added hopefully, "Do you think this Elrond guy will have food when we get there?" Despite the strangeness of the situation, Strider smiled. "The elves of Rivendell will feed you well, I promise. Though I warn you, Lord Elrond will want answers. He will need to understand what you are, why you're here, and whether your presence bodes well or ill for Middle-earth." "I'm a good guy," Goku said simply. "I help people. That's what I do." "I believe you," Strider said, and he meant it. There was something about Goku, a fundamental honesty, an openness of spirit that made deception seem impossible. But goodness alone may not be enough. These are dark times. The enemy grows strong. And a warrior of your power arriving now at this moment. He trailed off, looking eastward where the sky always seemed a shade darker. "Sauron will not rest until he understands you, until he knows whether you can be corrupted, controlled, or must be destroyed." Goku's expression grew serious, a rare look, but one that transformed his face entirely. "This Sauron, he's really that bad? Really that dangerous?" "He is the Dark Lord," Strider said quietly. "In ancient days, he was the greatest servant of Morgoth, the first and most terrible evil this world has known. When Morgoth was cast into the void, Sauron took up his master's work. He forged the One Ring, seeking to dominate all the free peoples of Middle-earth. He was defeated, cast down, his body destroyed, but his spirit endured. And now he has returned, rebuilding his power in Mordor, gathering armies, searching for the ring that would make him unstoppable." "So he's like Frieza," Goku said thoughtfully. "Or Cell, or Majin Buu. Really powerful bad guy who wants to rule or destroy everything." "I do not know these names," Strider admitted. "But if they were tyrants who commanded vast armies and sought dominion over all living things, then yes, Sauron is like them, save for one crucial difference. Sauron cannot be fought with strength of arms alone. He is cunning, patient, and his greatest weapon is corruption. He turns the good to evil, bends the strong to his will, and even the wise may fall to his lies." Goku was quiet for a moment, absorbing this. Then he said, "But he can be beaten, right? You said he was defeated before." "Yes, by an alliance of elves and men at great cost. My ancestor Isildur cut the ring from Sauron's hand, and the Dark Lord's body was destroyed. But Isildur failed to destroy the ring itself, and so Sauron endured." Strider's face was grim in the firelight. "Now the ring is lost, hidden somewhere in Middle-earth, and Sauron searches for it. If he finds it, if he reclaims his full power, there will be no second victory. Then we stop him before he finds it, Goku said with the simple confidence of someone who'd saved the world multiple times. We find this ring first and we destroy it. Problem solved. Strider actually laughed, a sound of genuine amusement mixed with wonder. You make it sound so simple, as if destroying the One Ring were as easy as hunting deer or defeating orcs. Well, how hard can it be? Goku asked reasonably. You just take it somewhere and smash it, right? The ring cannot be destroyed by any craft we possess, Strider explained. It was forged in the fires of Mount Doom, in the heart of Mordor itself. Only there in the Samath Nar where it was made can it be unmade, and Mordor is Sauron's realm guarded by armies beyond counting, watched by the eye that never sleeps. Goku's eyes lit up. So it's really dangerous. Impossibly so. And whoever tries to destroy it will face huge armies and this Sauron guy at his strongest. Almost certainly. Goku grinned. That familiar battle-hungry expression that had preceded every great fight of his life. Sounds like fun. Strider shook his head in disbelief. You are either the bravest warrior I have ever met, or the most foolish. Possibly both. I get that a lot, Goku admitted cheerfully. On the 6th day, they crested a rise and Rivendell spread below them. A hidden valley of impossible beauty where waterfalls sang and ancient trees grew alongside, buildings that seemed carved from starlight itself. Even from this distance, Goku could feel something different about the place. A peace, a timelessness, as if the valley existed slightly apart from the rest of the world. The last homely house, Strider said softly, his weathered face gentling at the sight. Rivendell, Imladris in the Elvish tongue. Here dwells Lord Elrond half-elven, master of this valley, keeper of ancient wisdom. If any can help you find your way home, it is he. As they descended the winding path into the valley, Goku noticed figures moving among the trees and buildings, tall, graceful, with an otherworldly beauty that made even the most handsome humans he'd known look rough by comparison. The elves. They moved with a fluid grace that reminded him a little of martial arts masters, every gesture precise and purposeful. Several of them stopped to watch as the company passed, their ageless faces showing surprise and curiosity at the strange warrior in the orange. Jigoku waved cheerfully, and a few actually smiled back, though their smiles held the mystery of beings who'd watched centuries pass like days. They were met at the doors of the main hall by an elf of obvious importance, tall and dark-haired with a circlet of silver on his brow and eyes that held the weight of ages. He looked at Strider with warmth and recognition, then turned those ancient eyes on Goku, and stopped. Aragorn, the elf said, using what Goku assumed was Strider's real name. You bring a strange companion to my house. I sense no evil in him, yet his very presence disturbs the fabric of what should be. He is not of the children of Ilúvatar. He is not of Arda at all. No, Lord Elrond, Strider, Aragorn confirmed. This is Goku, and he claims to come from beyond the circles of the world. He arrived 6 days ago, falling from the sky in light and thunder. The Nazgûl hunt him. He has power unlike anything I have witnessed, and he seeks counsel on how to return home. Elrond studied Goku with the intensity of someone reading a book written in an unknown language. Come, he said finally. Rest, eat, and recover from your journey. Tonight I will call a council. There are others here who should hear your tale and who may have wisdom to offer. His expression grew troubled. For your arrival is no accident, I think. Nothing happens by chance in these dark days. The Valor themselves may have guided you here for purposes we cannot yet see. Goku followed Elrond into Rivendell, unaware that in a pocket of Bilbo Baggins' waistcoat, a hobbit he had not yet met, rested a simple golden ring. a ring that had already sensed his presence, a ring that was beginning to understand that something unprecedented had entered Middle-earth. The One Ring had corrupted kings and wizards, twisted heroes into monsters, and dominated the wills of entire nations. But in all its long and terrible existence, it had never encountered a mind like Goku's, pure, focused, and entirely uninterested in power for its own sake. The ring was curious, and when the One Ring became curious, fate itself began to bend in unexpected directions. Rivendell's hospitality proved everything Aragorn had promised. Within an hour of arrival, Goku found himself in a comfortable room with fresh clothes. Though he politely declined, his GI was his uniform, a basin of hot water, and more food than even his Saiyan appetite could handle in one sitting. Almost. The elves watched with barely concealed amazement as he consumed enough for 6 men, paused for breath, then asked politely if there was more. An elf named Lindir, assigned to ensure their guests' comfort, simply nodded and returned with additional platters, his ancient face showing the first genuine surprise in probably 1,000 years. "You eat like a dwarf king at a feast," Lindir observed not unkindly. "Sorry," Goku said around a mouthful of bread. "Saiyan metabolism. We burn a lot of energy, especially when we're training or fighting. I probably eat about 10 times what a normal human does." "Fascinating," Lindir murmured. "I must tell the cooks to prepare accordingly. Lord Elrond would be mortified if a guest left his table hungry." That evening, as the sun set and stars began to emerge over the valley, Goku was summoned to what Aragorn called the Council of Elrond. He followed an elf guide through halls of carved stone and living wood, past fountains that sang and tapestries that seemed to move in absent wind, until they reached an open pavilion overlooking the Bruinen River. A semicircle of chairs had been arranged, and already several figures sat waiting. Elrond was there, of course, his grave face thoughtful. Aragorn sat to his right, cleaned up and looking more lordly than he had in the wilderness. There was a wizard, too. Goku recognized the type, having met similar figures in his travels. With a long gray beard, bushy eyebrows, and eyes that twinkled with humor and hidden depths. A dwarf sat near him, broad and bearded, hand resting on an axe. Several other elves occupied chairs, their ageless faces curious and cautious, and in a chair, smaller than the rest, sat a creature Goku had never seen before. About 3 feet tall, with curly hair, large feet, and a round, cheerful face that currently looked rather anxious. The small person clutched a walking stick and kept glancing nervously at the tall folk around him. "Goku," Elrond said, gesturing to an empty chair. "Please join us. These are some of the wisest folk remaining in Middle-earth, gathered to discuss matters of great import. Your arrival, I think, is one such matter." Goku sat, feeling slightly awkward in such formal company. He was used to councils and strategy meetings. He'd sat through plenty with the Z-fighters. But something about the weight of ages in this room made him feel like a kid again, sitting at the grown-ups' table. "This is Gandalf the Grey," Elrond continued, indicating the wizard. "Glóin, son of Groen, of the house of Durin. My sons Elladan and Elrohir, and Bilbo Baggins of the Shire, who has dwelt in Rivendell these past years." The small person, Bilbo the Hobbit, gave a little wave. "Pleased to meet you, I'm sure. Though I must say you're the tallest thing I've seen in quite some time, and I've seen a dragon." Goku grinned. "Nice to meet you, too. You seem pretty brave for someone so small." Bilbo's chest puffed up a bit. "Well, I've had my share of adventures, though I'm quite retired now. Much prefer a nice book and a good meal to all that business with goblins and spiders and whatnot." "Now then," Gandalf spoke up, his voice deep and measured. "Aragorn has told us a remarkable tale of a warrior who fell from the sky, who faced a Nazgûl without fear, whose power derives not from any magic known to Middle-earth. I confess I am most eager to meet this marvel." His keen eyes fixed on Goku, and there was something in that gaze, ancient, searching, but also kind. "Tell me, Goku of the Saiyans, do you serve any lord? Do you bend knee to any power?" "Not really," Goku said honestly. "I mean, I've trained under masters, King Kai, Whis, people like that. But serve? No. I fight to protect my friends and family and to test myself against strong opponents. That's pretty much it." "No allegiance to kingdoms or causes?" the dwarf Glowin asked, his tone skeptical. "Every warrior serves something." "I serve what's right," Goku said simply. "If someone's in trouble and I can help, I help. If there's a threat to innocent people, I fight it. I don't really care about politics or who's king or whatever. I just want to protect people and get stronger." Gandalf leaned back, stroking his beard thoughtfully. "A simple philosophy. Yet there is wisdom in simplicity. Tell me, in your world, this earth you speak of, have you faced great evils? Powers that sought to dominate or destroy?" Goku's face grew serious. "Yeah, lots of them. Guys who wanted to rule the universe, destroy planets, wipe out entire races. I've fought demon kings, alien tyrants, androids designed to kill, creatures of pure destruction. Some of them were so strong that..." He paused, remembering battles that had pushed him to his absolute limit. "I've died a few times fighting them. But I always came back, trained harder, and eventually won." The council stirred at this casual mention of death and resurrection. "You speak of dying as if it were temporary," Elrond said carefully. "It kind of is where I'm from," Goku explained. "There are Dragon Balls that can wish people back to life. And I've trained in the afterlife, which is actually pretty cool, met some really strong fighters there." Gandalf and Elrond exchanged glances, the kind of look that passed between beings old enough to find very little surprising, yet had just been surprised anyway. "Remarkable," Gandalf murmured. "In your world, even death is not final. The very order of things differs from Arda's laws." "Which brings us to the question," Elrond said, "of why you are here. Nothing crosses the boundaries of the world by pure chance. The calm, Valor themselves govern the borders between what is and what lies beyond. For you to arrive now at this moment when darkness gathers and ancient evils wake." He left the thought unfinished. "You think someone sent me here on purpose?" Goku asked. "Perhaps," Elrond replied. "Or perhaps your technique, this instant transmission, touched upon something it was not meant to touch. A tear in the fabric between worlds. A thin place where the boundaries grow weak." Before Goku could respond, Bilbo spoke up from his small chair. "Forgive me for interrupting such deep discussion, but I have a question." The hobbit's bright eyes fixed on Goku with unexpected sharpness. "Aragorn says the Nazgûl retreated from you. That they fled, which they never do. What did you do? How did you make them afraid?" "I didn't do anything special," Goku said. "I just didn't feel afraid of them. They tried to make me scared, I think, but it didn't work. And when I powered up a little, just showed them a tiny bit of my ki, they left." "You were not afraid," Gandalf repeated slowly. "Not even slightly. The Nazgûl carry with them an aura of terror. They are fear made manifest. Even the bravest warriors feel their hearts quail in the Ring-Wraith's presence. Yet you felt nothing?" Goku shrugged. "I've faced scarier things, a lot scarier. These Nazgûl seem dangerous, sure, but compared to Beerus when he's angry, or Frieza in his final form, or Majin Buu..." He shook his head. "No offense, but they weren't that scary." "None taken," Glowin rumbled. "Though I'd wager these Beerus and Frieza are terrors of their own kind." "Oh yeah," Goku confirmed. Beerus is a god of destruction. He can destroy entire planets with a thought. Frieza conquered hundreds of worlds, and Boo almost destroyed the entire universe. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, Gandalf spoke, and there was something new in his voice, a careful consideration, as if he were working through implications that troubled and intrigued him in equal measure. Let me understand this clearly. In your world, you have fought beings with the power to destroy planets. Multiple beings. And you defeated them. Some of them I defeated, Goku corrected. Some I fought to a standstill. Some I beat with help from my friends, but yeah, basically. And yet, Elrond added, you claim to be merely pretty strong by your world's standards. Not the strongest, not unique in power. Well, I'm one of the strongest, Goku admitted. But Vegeta's almost as strong as me, sometimes stronger depending on the day. Gohan, my son, has potential that might surpass both of us. And there are gods and angels way above our level. I'm always training to catch up to them. Gandalf stood and walked to the edge of the pavilion, looking out over the darkening valley. Elrond, he said quietly, I begin to understand why Sauron is disturbed by this stranger. Goku represents something the Dark Lord has never encountered, power utterly beyond his comprehension, combined with a purity of purpose that offers no foothold for corruption. You think I can't be corrupted? Goku asked curiously. I think, Gandalf said, turning back to face him, that your mind works in ways Sauron cannot understand. He corrupts through promises of power, dominion, revenge, or glory. But you care for none of these things. You simply wish to fight, to protect, to improve yourself. There is no ambition in you for Sauron to exploit, no hunger for control, no resentment or pride that he might twist. Well, I do get pretty competitive, Goku said honestly. And I definitely have pride. I'm a Saiyan. Pride in battle is kind of our thing. But not pride in domination, Elrond observed. Not the desire to rule or subjugate. Your pride is in the test itself, the challenge, the growth. These are things the ring cannot use. At the mention of the ring, Bilbo shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and Goku noticed the hobbit's hand drift unconsciously to his pocket. There was something there. He could see the outline of a small object, circular and smooth. The ring, Goku said. Everyone keeps mentioning this ring. Can someone explain what exactly it is? The council exchanged glances, as if deciding how much to reveal. Finally, Gandalf spoke. The One Ring was forged by Sauron in the fires of Mount Doom. It is the master of all the rings of power, rings given to elves, dwarves, and men in the Second Age. Through the One, Sauron sought to control all the ring-bearers and dominate the free peoples of Middle-earth. It is an artifact of immense power, but also of terrible corruption. Whoever bears it is slowly consumed by it, twisted to serve Sauron's will. So it's like cursed, Goku said. Bad news. Indeed, Elrond agreed. The ring was lost when Isildur was slain 3,000 years ago. It passed through darkness and secret until it came, through means we do not fully understand, to Bilbo. Here, he gestured to the hobbit. Bilbo possessed it for many years, not knowing what it was until Gandalf began to suspect the truth. Goku looked at the small hobbit with new respect. You carried around this super evil ring and didn't get corrupted? Bilbo shifted uncomfortably. Well, I wouldn't say I was entirely unaffected. I became rather possessive of it. Called it my precious sometimes, which embarrasses me to admit. But Gandalf helped me see sense. I gave it up, though it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and passed it to my heir, young Frodo. Hobbits are remarkably resistant to the ring's power, Gandalf explained. They desire little beyond comfort, good food, and peaceful lives. The ring has no obvious path into their hearts, though even they are not immune given time. Can I see it? Goku asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. The council went very still. Gandalf's eyes narrowed. Elrond leaned forward slightly. Even Aragorn tensed. Why do you wish to see it? Gandalf asked carefully. I'm just curious, Goku said. Everyone's talking about how dangerous and evil it is, but it's just a ring, right? I want to understand what I'm dealing with if this Sauron is so desperate to get it back. After a long moment, Bilbo reached into his pocket with a hand that trembled slightly. He pulled out a simple golden band, plain, unadorned, catching the starlight in a way that seemed almost hungry. Goku looked at it, tilting his head. Huh, he said. It doesn't look like much. And then something unprecedented happened. The ring, which had been reaching out with tendrils of influence the moment it was revealed, whispering promises, seeking purchase in the hearts and minds of all present, touched Goku's consciousness and found nothing. No ambition to exploit, no fear to amplify, no resentment to nurture, just a simple, honest curiosity about a piece of jewelry. The ring, confused, tried harder. It showed Goku images, himself standing atop mountains of defeated enemies, ruling vast kingdoms, commanding armies that would bow to his power. See what you could be, it whispered. See what you could control. Goku frowned slightly. That's weird, he said. It's like something's trying to get in my head, showing me stuff. Every member of the council stiffened. What do you see? Gandalf asked urgently. Just random stuff, Goku said, still looking at the ring with more puzzlement than interest. Me being king or something, armies bowing? It doesn't really make sense. Why would I want any of that? He looked up at Gandalf. Is this the corruption thing you mentioned? The ring, growing desperate now, changed tactics. It showed Goku endless battles, opponents of infinite strength, challenges that would test him to his absolute limits. All yours, it promised. Wear me and I will give you battles beyond counting. Enemies worthy of your strength. Tests that will never end. For the first time, Goku's expression showed interest. Oh, he said slowly. Now that's more tempting. It's promising me strong opponents to fight. Really strong ones. He looked down at the ring, and his next words made every heart in the pavilion stop. But that's kind of cheating, isn't it? The ring recoiled, unable to comprehend what it had just encountered. I mean, Goku continued, if I want to get stronger, if I want to face tough opponents, I should earn it myself. Train harder, push my limits, find them the right way. Using some magic ring to get there? He shook his head. That'd be like using a shortcut. And shortcuts don't make you stronger, they just make you weaker in the long run. He looked at Bilbo with that bright, genuine smile. No offense, but I don't think I want your ring. It seems like it'd just get in the way of my training. Bilbo carefully returned the ring to his pocket, his hands shaking now, but with relief rather than the ring's influence. None taken, he said weakly. You are perhaps the wisest person I've met, though you don't seem to realize it. Gandalf was staring at Goku with something approaching wonder. In all the long ages of this world, he said softly, I have never witnessed what I just saw. The ring tried to claim you. I could sense it reaching, striving, desperate. And you simply refused it, not through strength of will, not through ancient wisdom, but because you found it dishonest. The ring offers only corruption and false promises, Elrond said, and there was new light in his ancient eyes. But to Goku it offered what he truly desires, and he still rejected it because the path it showed was not earned. This is, he trailed off, searching for words. This is why the Valar may have guided him here, Gandalf finished. Not to fight Sauron directly, though he clearly could, but to show us something we had forgotten. That purity of purpose is the strongest armor against evil. That a heart truly uncorrupted cannot be tempted, no matter how subtle the lie. Goku scratched his head, embarrassed by all the attention. I just don't like lying or cheating. My master Roshi taught me that strength earned through shortcuts isn't real strength. And my friend Krillin always says the journey matters more than the destination. He grinned. Plus, if I used that ring to get stronger, Vegeta would never let me hear the end of it. He'd say I took the easy way out. Despite the gravity of the moment, several council members smiled. Tell me, Goku, Elrond said. If we asked for your help, if we asked you to stand with us against Sauron to use your power in defense of Middle-earth, would you agree? Goku's face grew serious. You're fighting against someone evil who wants to hurt innocent people, right? Yes. And this Sauron, he won't stop unless someone stops him? That is correct. Then yeah, Goku said simply. I'll help. I don't know how long I'll be stuck here or if I can find a way home, but while I'm in Middle-earth, I'll do what I can. That's what warriors are supposed to do. Protect people who can't protect themselves. Gandalf stood and there was satisfaction in his eyes. Then we are fortunate indeed, for the ring has found someone it cannot claim, and Sauron has gained an enemy he cannot comprehend. The question now becomes, how do we use this unexpected advantage? There is another matter, Aragorn interjected. The Nazgûl know of Goku now. They will have reported to Sauron. The Dark Lord will want to understand what manner of being resists both the fear of the ring-wraiths and the power of the ring itself. He may seek to destroy Goku, or worse, to test him to find a weakness. Let him try, Goku said with confidence. I've been tested by the best, and I've always gotten stronger from it. Your confidence is admirable, Elrond said, but do not underestimate Sauron. He is cunning beyond measure. He may not face you directly, but instead seek to use others against you, to test you through proxies to learn your limits before risking direct confrontation. That's fine, Goku said. I'm always up for a good challenge. And who knows, maybe fighting in this Middle-earth place will help me develop new techniques, find new limits to break. His eyes lit up with familiar excitement. This could actually be really good training. Gandalf laughed, a warm, genuine sound. Only you, I think, could see being hunted by the Dark Lord of Mordor as a training opportunity. You are either blessed with remarkable optimism or cursed with it. I have not yet decided which. As the council continued late into the night discussing strategy and possibility, one thing became clear. Goku's presence had fundamentally altered the balance of the war against Sauron. The Dark Lord had spent centuries building power, gathering armies, searching for the ring that would make him invincible. He had planned for every contingency, prepared for every possible resistance, but he had not planned for a Saiyan. In Mordor, in the Dark Tower of Barad-dûr, Sauron felt a disturbance unlike anything in his long and terrible existence. Something had touched his ring, his precious creation, his instrument of domination, and rejected it utterly. Not overcome it through strength of will, not resisted it through wisdom, simply declined its offer, finding it beneath consideration. The Dark Lord's fury was immense, but beneath the fury was something more dangerous, fascination. He needed to understand this anomaly. He needed to know whether it could be broken, controlled, or destroyed. And so the eye turned its full attention westward, and in the darkness plans began to form, plans that would test this strange warrior, plans that would reveal his limits, plans that would soon go catastrophically wrong. The days following the council passed in a strange mixture of peace and preparation. Rivendell worked its subtle magic on Goku, who found himself relaxing for the first time since arriving in Middle-earth. The elves were fascinating, immortal, wise, and surprisingly good sparring partners once he convinced a few of them to practice with him. Their centuries of swordsmanship couldn't match his speed or strength, but their technique was flawless, and he learned much from watching how they moved. Gandalf spent hours with him asking questions about his world, his training, his understanding of energy and power. The wizard seemed particularly interested in Ki, recognizing in it something akin to the fundamental forces that bound Middle-earth together, though manifested through entirely different principles. In Arda, Gandalf explained one morning as they walked through Rivendell's gardens, all power ultimately flows from Eru Ilúvatar the One, the Valar, the Maiar, of which I am the One. Though diminished and bound in this mortal form, we exercise power granted by him, shaped through the music of creation. Your Ki seems to be personal, generated from within rather than granted from without. That's right, Goku confirmed. Every living thing has Ki, but most people don't know how to use it. You have to train your body and spirit together. Learn to sense and control your own life energy. He paused. Wait, you're not human. You're one of these Maiar things? Gandalf smiled beneath his beard. A secret I do not often share, but yes. I was sent to Middle-earth to contest Sauron's return to inspire and guide the free peoples, but not to dominate them through power. We Astari are forbidden from matching the enemy's strength for strength. We must work through wisdom, through inspiration, through the courage of others. That seems like fighting with one hand tied behind your back, Goku observed. Perhaps, but the purpose is not simply victory, it is to ensure that victory belongs to the free peoples themselves, won through their own choices and sacrifices. If we Astari simply defeated Sauron through superior power, what would that teach? What would it mean? Gandalf's eyes were distant. No, the struggle matters as much as the outcome. Maybe more. Goku nodded slowly, understanding something in those words that resonated with his own philosophy. Like how I let Gohan fight Cell, even though I could have done it myself. He needed to know he could win. He needed to prove it to himself. Precisely, Gandalf said, pleased. You understand more than you realize, Goku. Though I confess your presence here complicates our careful plans. You are not bound by the same restrictions as the Astari. You could conceivably simply fly to Mordor and strike Sauron directly. Could I? Goku asked, intrigued by the possibility. I mean, would that work? You said he can't be killed normally. Without the ring, Sauron is greatly diminished. His body can be destroyed, though his spirit would endure so long as the ring exists. To truly defeat him, the ring must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. Only then would Sauron be cast down permanently, reduced to a shadow unable to take form again. So the ring's really the key to everything, Goku mused, and it has to be destroyed at this Mount Doom place, in Sauron's own territory right under his nose. Indeed, an impossible quest on its face, yet it may be the only path to true victory. Before Goku could respond, a commotion at the gates drew their attention. Riders had arrived, 4 small figures on ponies accompanied by a taller person cloaked and hooded. Goku could hear shouting, worry, and an undercurrent of fear in the voices. Frodo, Gandalf said urgently, already striding toward the gates. Bilbo's heir has arrived, and he brings the ring. They reached the courtyard to find a scene of controlled chaos. Elves were tending to a young hobbit who looked pale and ill, a wound in his shoulder that radiated a darkness Goku could sense even without Kai. 3 other hobbits clustered around their friend, worried and exhausted. And Aragorn was there, speaking quietly with Elrond, his face grave. The Nazgûl caught them on Weathertop, Aragorn was saying. Frodo was stabbed with a Morgul blade. I brought them here as swiftly as I could, but the wound... Will be tended, Elrond said firmly. Bring him inside. We have arts that can slow the poison, perhaps heal it entirely. As the elves carried the wounded hobbit away, one of the other hobbits, round-faced and fierce-looking despite his small size, spotted Goku and stopped dead. Strider, there's a giant standing in Rivendell. Is that normal? Aragorn actually smiled. That is Goku, Sam. He is a friend, and no threat to anyone here. The hobbit called Sam looked unconvinced but nodded. His companion, a younger hobbit with bright eyes and curious expression, waved enthusiastically. Hello, I'm Pippin, and this is Mary. Are you an elf? You don't look like an elf. Are you a wizard? You don't have a beard? I'm a Saiyan, Goku said, crouching down to be more on their level. From another world. I'm kind of stuck here right now. Another world? Pippin's eyes went wide. Like in the old stories, are there dragons in your world and magic and ow? This last as Mary elbowed him. What was that for? Their friend is injured, Mary said pointedly. Maybe save the questions for later? Right, sorry, Pippin said, looking abashed. But later I want to hear everything. As the hobbits hurried inside after their wounded companion, Gandalf turned to Goku with troubled eyes. The wound Frodo bears is no ordinary injury. It was struck by a Morgul blade, a weapon designed to turn its victim into a wraith, a shadow servant of the Nazgûl. If Elrond cannot heal him fully. He didn't finish the thought. Will he be okay? Goku asked. I do not know. Elrond is the greatest healer in Middle-earth. But Morgul wounds are beyond even his skill to fully cleanse. We can slow the darkness, prevent the transformation, but Frodo will bear the mark of that blade for the rest of his days. Goku frowned. Back home, a senzu bean could heal almost any injury. Here, even the wisest and most powerful seemed limited in what they could do. It was a stark reminder that this world operated under very different rules. Over the next few days, Frodo slowly recovered, though Goku could see the shadow that lingered in the young hobbit's eyes. The ring-bearer, for so Gandalf named him, was slight and serious, with a burden that seemed far too heavy for such small shoulders. When Frodo was well enough, Elrond called another council, this one larger, with representatives from more kingdoms and races. Dwarves had arrived from Erebor, led by Glóin and his son Gimli. Legolas, an elf from Mirkwood, stood representing his father Thranduil. Boromir, a lord of Gondor, had come seeking aid for his besieged city. And at the center of it all sat Frodo, with the ring in his possession, its presence a weight everyone could feel. Goku sat in on the council, listening as they debated what to do with the ring. Boromir argued for using it as a weapon against Sauron. Others wanted to hide it, send it far away, keep it from the enemy's grasp. The debates grew heated, voices rising. Finally, Elrond spoke. The ring cannot be wielded against Sauron. That path leads only to a new Dark Lord, perhaps even worse than the first. Nor can it be hidden forever. Sauron will never stop searching. There is only one choice. The ring must be destroyed. In Mordor, Gandalf added. In Mount Doom, where it was forged. A fool's errand, Boromir protested. You speak of walking into the very heart of the enemy's power. It cannot be done. And yet it must be, Gandalf said quietly, or all will fall. The debate raged on until Goku, who'd been mostly quiet, spoke up. Why don't I just fly it? Don't I? There. The council went silent. Everyone turned to stare at him. I mean, Goku continued reasonably, you said it's in Mordor, right? And Mordor is to the east. I can fly pretty fast, faster than anything in Middle-earth, probably. I could grab the ring, fly straight to this Mount Doom place, toss it in, and be done before Sauron even knows what happened. Problem solved. It was such a simple, practical solution that for a moment no one knew how to respond. Then Gandalf shook his head slowly. Would that it were so simple. But no, Goku, that path would lead to disaster. Sauron commands the skies over Mordor. He has Nazgûl on fell beasts, creatures of the air who would sense you immediately. He has the eye itself, which can see across vast distances, and he has servants beyond counting who would rally to stop you. I could fight them, Goku said confidently. I do not doubt it, Gandalf replied. But the ring is the greater danger. The closer you come to Mordor, to the fires of Mount Doom, the stronger its influence becomes. Even you, with your pure heart and remarkable resistance, would not be immune to its full power in Sauron's own realm. It would have time to work on you, to find the cracks, to whisper and corrupt. And if you fell while bearing it, he shook his head. No. The ring must be taken by someone it has little power over, someone small and humble with no great ambitions. Like a hobbit, Elrond said, looking at Frodo. The young hobbit paled but didn't look away. I will take it, he said quietly, though I do not know the way. I will help you bear this burden, Frodo Baggins, Gandalf said gently, as long as it is yours to bear. And I, Aragorn added. And I, declared Legolas. And my axe, rumbled Gimli the dwarf. Others pledged their aid, Boromir despite his doubts, the hobbits Sam, Merry, and Pippin with fierce determination. A fellowship was forming, 9 companions who would walk into darkness to save Middle-earth. Goku watched, this understanding slowly dawning. They weren't asking him to solve their problem for them. They were asking for his help, yes, but on their terms, in their way. Because this was their world, their war, their choice to make. What about me? He asked. Where do I fit in? Elrond considered carefully. You are perhaps too powerful, too visible to join the fellowship directly. Sauron's eye would be drawn to you like moth to flame. But there are other ways you might aid us. You could protect Rivendell, or journey to the kingdoms of men, or... Actually, Gandalf interrupted, I have another suggestion. Goku, you mentioned wanting to return home, to find your way back to your own world. What if I told you there might be a way? Goku sat up straight. Really? How? Saruman, Gandalf said, and there was distaste in his voice. Saruman the White, chief of my order, he dwells in Isengard, and he has spent centuries studying the nature of reality, the boundaries of the world, the paths between what is and what might be. If anyone in Middle-earth could help you find a way home, it would be him. Then I'll go see this Saruman, Goku said eagerly. Maybe he can help. Gandalf and Aragorn exchanged troubled glances. There is a complication, Aragorn said carefully. Saruman has changed. He grows isolated, suspicious. Some whisper that he has fallen to pride, that he seeks the ring for himself. But he's still a wizard, right? Goku asked. Still one of the good guys? I pray so, Gandalf said heavily. I hope I am wrong in my suspicions, but you should know, Goku, Saruman is subtle and cunning. If he has indeed turned to darkness, he will not announce it openly. He will smile and offer aid while maneuvering you toward his own purposes. I'll be careful, Goku promised. But I have to try, right? If there's a chance, he can help me get home. Then go, Elrond said. Go to Isengard. Speak with Saruman, but be wary and trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, do not hesitate to leave. And so it was decided. The fellowship would depart for Mordor, carrying the ring toward its destruction, and Goku would journey to Isengard, seeking knowledge that might return him home, unaware that Saruman had been watching, planning, and preparing for exactly this opportunity. The journey to Isengard took Goku south and west, through lands that grew steadily less welcoming. Rivendell's peace gave way to wild country, then to the shadow of mountains, and finally to the vale where Saruman's tower stood. Orthanc rose like a black finger pointing at the sky, its surface smooth and impenetrable, ringing of ancient craft and power. Goku flew the last distance, seeing no reason to waste time walking when no one here knew him well enough to be startled. He landed at the gates of Isengard to find them already open and a welcoming committee waiting, orcs in armor standing at attention rather than attacking. It was his first sign that something wasn't quite right. "The White Wizard expects you," one of the orcs growled, its tusked face showing deference rather than hostility. "Follow." Goku followed through courtyards that stank of industry. Forges burned, wheels turned, and everywhere he looked he saw weapons being made in vast quantities. This didn't seem like a wizard's tower. It seemed like a factory preparing for war. Saruman met him in a high chamber, and Goku's first impression was of dignity and power. The wizard stood tall, robed in white that seemed to shimmer with colors that weren't quite there, holding a staff of polished wood. His face was noble, his voice rich and commanding, and his eyes calculated and measured and planned with an intelligence that rivaled the sharpest minds Goku had ever encountered. "Welcome, Goku of the Saiyans," Saruman said, his voice washing over the room like music. "I have heard much about you. A warrior from beyond the circles of the world, possessed of impossible power, immune to the ring's corruption. You are perhaps the most interesting thing to happen in Middle-earth for 3 ages. "Thanks," Goku said, a little off balance from the formal greeting. "Gandalf said you might be able to help me. I'm trying to find a way home." "And so I shall," Saruman said smoothly. "But first, let us speak plainly, you and I. Gandalf doubtless warned you against me. He thinks I have fallen, that I seek the ring for myself. He sees conspiracy and corruption where there is only pragmatism." Goku shifted uncomfortably. "Well, do not trouble yourself with denials," Saruman continued, waving a hand dismissively. "I know Gandalf's mind as well as my own. We have worked together for millennia, he and I, and we have diverged in our thinking. He clings to old ways, old hopes. I see the world as it truly is." "And how's that?" Goku asked, genuinely curious. Saruman walked to a window, gesturing at the industry below. "Sauron grows strong. His armies multiply, the kingdoms of men decay and decline. The elves flee to the west. The age of magic and wonder fades, and a new age comes, an age of iron and fire and strength. Gandalf would resist this change. I would guide it, shape it, ensure that when the new age dawns, it is not dominated by darkness." "By taking the ring?" Goku asked, carefully. "By using every tool available," Saruman corrected. "Yes, including the ring if it can be claimed, but also through alliance, through careful planning, through recognizing opportunities when they arise." His eyes fixed on Goku with uncomfortable intensity. "Opportunities like you." "Me?" "Consider," Saruman said, his voice taking on that hypnotic quality Gandalf had warned about. "You possess power that could reshape Middle-earth. In your hands, evil could be scoured from the land. Sauron could be cast down, and a new order could emerge. Peaceful, prosperous, protected by strength too great to challenge." "That's what the ring showed me," Goku said slowly. "Ruling, armies bowing, that kind of stuff. I wasn't interested." "Because the ring is a crude tool," Saruman said dismissively. "It corrupts through obvious means, promising power, demanding submission. But I offer something far more appealing. Purpose. Think, Goku. While you seek a way home, why not use your time, here meaningfully? Join me. Together we could end this war in days. Sauron would fall, the ring would be secured, peace would reign, and then, with access to my knowledge and resources, we would find the path to return you to your world." It was a compelling argument, delivered with perfect reason and sincerity, and Goku could see the appeal of it. Quick victory, protection for innocent people, and a way home. Everything he wanted, wrapped in logic that seemed to make sense. But something felt wrong. If you want to defeat Sauron, Goku said carefully, why not just help the Fellowship? Why work alone? Because they are fools, Saruman said, and for a moment genuine frustration crept into his voice. They speak of destroying the ring, the greatest source of power in Middle-earth, rather than wielding it for good. They choose weakness over strength, sacrifice over victory. They would throw away the very tool that could save them out of fear and misguided morality. Or maybe, Goku said quietly, they understand that some tools can't be used without becoming what you're fighting against. Saruman's expression flickered. Just for an instant, surprise and calculation crossed his face. You are wiser than Gandalf gave you credit for. Very well, let me speak even more plainly. I do not need your agreement, Goku. I need only your compliance. Stay here in Isengard, be my guest, my ally, and in time you will see that I am right. You will choose to help me, or... He paused, and now there was steel beneath the honey. Or you will remain here regardless, because I cannot allow a power like yours to interfere with my plans. You're trying to keep me prisoner? Goku asked, more confused than angry. I am trying to save you from making a terrible mistake, Saruman said, raising his staff. Sauron already knows of you. He will seek to destroy or corrupt you. The Fellowship will lead you to doom. Only here, under my protection, can you be safe. Only here can you... Yeah, I'm gonna stop you there, Goku interrupted. I appreciate the offer and everything, but I don't like being told what to do. And I definitely don't like being threatened. So I think I'll just leave now. Maybe head back to Rivendell. Let them know you're not as helpful as we hoped. He turned toward the door, and Saruman's voice cracked out like a whip. You will not leave. The command carried weight beyond mere words. Power, compulsion, the force of a Maya's will focused into language. It crashed against Goku's mind like a wave against a cliff, and broke, because Goku had been fighting mental attacks since he was a child. Babidi had tried to control him. Ginyu had tried to steal his body. The Supreme Kai had tried to bind him with paralysis. And every time he'd overcome it, not through resistance exactly, but through a mind so singularly focused, so purely intent on its goals, that external control simply couldn't find purchase. Huh, Goku said, feeling the magical compulsion slide off him like water off stone. That tickled a little. Are you trying to control my mind? Saruman stared, genuine shock replacing calculated composure. Impossible. No mortal mind can resist the voice of Saruman when I command with full authority. You should be frozen, compliant, unable to even think of defiance. Sorry, Goku said, not sounding very sorry. I've got a pretty one-track mind. Once I decide to do something, it's really hard to make me change direction. He cracked his knuckles, combat instinct reading threat in Saruman's posture. So are we going to fight? Because I should warn you, I'm a lot stronger than I look. Stronger than a Maya? Saruman's eyes narrowed. I think not. I am of the Maiar, servant of the Valar, nearly as old as Middle-earth itself. You are mortal, however powerful your world might make you. Here in Arda, you are subject to laws you do not understand. Only one way to find out, Goku said, dropping into a ready stance. Saruman struck first, his staff blazing with power as he spoke words in a language older than mountains. Lightning erupted from the staff tip, white-hot and deadly, filling the chamber with thunder and the smell of ozone, the kind of attack that had incinerated armies in Saruman's long life. Goku caught it, He simply raised one hand, ki flaring to the surface, and the lightning crashed against his palm and dispersed harmlessly around him. The energy was impressive by Middle-earth standards, maybe equivalent to one of Piccolo's weaker attacks. Dangerous to normal people. To a Super Saiyan? Barely worth noticing. "My turn," Goku said and moved. He didn't use his full speed, didn't want to hurt Saruman too badly, just convince him to back off. But even at a fraction of his capability, he crossed the chamber faster than the wizard could track. One moment he was 20 feet away. The next he was behind Saruman, tapping the wizard's shoulder. Saruman spun, his staff sweeping in an arc meant to catch Goku's head. Goku ducked under it easily, weaved around a follow-up blast of force and casually flicked Saruman's forehead, just hard enough to send the wizard stumbling backward. "Look," Goku said, "I don't want to hurt you. You're supposed to be on the good side, right? One of the wizards sent to stop Sauron, so why are we fighting? Why not just help each other?" Saruman recovered, but his composure was badly shaken. He'd lived for millennia. He'd faced dragons and Balrogs. He'd matched wits with Sauron himself in the distant past. And in all that time, he'd never encountered anything that could simply ignore his power, treat his greatest attacks like minor annoyances, and move with speed that made mockery of his reflexes. "What are you?" he whispered, and for the first time, genuine uncertainty entered his voice. "I told you I'm a Saiyan, a warrior from another world. And I'm trying really hard to be patient here, but you're making it difficult." Goku's expression grew serious. "Gandalf was right about you, wasn't he? You have fallen. You're working with Sauron, or trying to take the ring for yourself, or something. Something that means you're not on the side of the people I've been trying to help." Saruman drew himself up, pride and anger warring with calculation in his ancient mind. "You understand nothing. I work for the preservation of order in Middle-earth. If that requires alliance with Sauron temporarily, cooperation with the inevitable, then so be it. The age of the Astari is ending. The age of power dawns, and those who do not adapt will be swept away." "Yeah," Goku said sadly. "Gandalf was definitely right. You're not going to help me get home, are you? You just wanted to use me." "I could still help you," Saruman tried one last time. "Join me willingly, and I will dedicate my full knowledge to finding the path between worlds. Resist, and I will simply imprison you here while I take what I need from you, study your power, understand its nature, perhaps even bind it to my service." Goku sighed. "You really don't get it, do you? I don't care how old you are or how much magic you know. You're a bad guy now, and I don't work with bad guys." He raised 2 fingers to his forehead, the familiar gesture of instant transmission. The technique shouldn't work here. He had no key signatures to lock onto, no familiar energy sources to guide him. But he'd been practicing, adapting, learning to sense other things. The life force of trees and rivers, the heat of the sun, the living world itself. And right now he could sense Gandalf's staff, distant but distinct, a spark of genuine light in the growing darkness. Close enough for his purposes. "See you around," Goku said, and vanished. Saruman lunged forward, power flaring as he tried to prevent the teleportation, but Goku was already gone, disappeared in an instant without even a disturbance in the air. The wizard stood alone in his chamber, staring at the spot where an impossibility had stood moments before. Then he turned and walked to a different chamber, where a smooth black stone rested on a pedestal, a palantir, one of the seeing stones through which he spoke with Sauron himself. He placed his hands on the stone, and immediately a presence filled his mind, vast, malevolent, patient as the turning of ages. "Master," Saruman said, the word tasting like ash, "the warrior escaped. He is more powerful than we imagined, immune to my voice, resistant to my magic, capable of vanishing at will. If he joins the Fellowship, if he actively opposes us, the Dark Lord's thought came like hammer blows. Then we must test him properly, send the Nazgûl, send the Balrog, send everything necessary to understand his limits and Saruman. Yes, Master. If he cannot be corrupted or controlled, ensure he is destroyed. I will not tolerate variables in my victory. The connection severed, leaving Saruman alone with his thoughts and his treachery and the growing certainty that he had made a terrible error. The warrior from beyond the world was not a tool to be used. He was a storm, unpredictable and unstoppable, and Saruman had just ensured that storm would turn against him. In Mordor, Sauron's eye blazed with cold calculation. The Saiyan could not be corrupted, could not be controlled, could not be intimidated, which left only one option. He had to be destroyed. And to destroy something that powerful, Sauron would need to learn its limits. It was time to send the Nazgûl again, all 9 of them, and this time they would not retreat. Goku materialized beside Gandalf with a soft pop of displaced air, startling the wizard so badly he nearly dropped his pipe. They were on the road, somewhere south of Rivendell, and around them the Fellowship had frozen mid-step, weapons half drawn, staring at the orange-clad warrior who'd appeared from nowhere. "Goku!" Gandalf exclaimed, recovering his composure with admirable speed. "What happened? Did you reach Isengard? Did Saruman—" He stopped, reading the answer in Goku's expression. "Ah, he has fallen then, truly and completely." "Yeah," Goku confirmed, looking troubled. "He tried to make me join him, then tried to control my mind when I said no, then tried to keep me prisoner. He's definitely working with this Sauron guy. I'm sorry, Gandalf." The wizard aged visibly, centuries of weariness settling on his shoulders. "I feared as much, but hope can blind even the wise. Saruman was my friend once, my leader in the fight against darkness. To see him fall to the very evil we swore to resist." He shook his head. "Thank you for bringing me certainty at least. Now we know where the White Wizard stands." "Who is this?" demanded Boromir, the man from Gondor, his hand still on his sword. "How did he simply appear among us? Is this more wizardry?" "This is Goku," Gandalf introduced, "the warrior I told you of. He was seeking Saruman's aid to return home, but found only treachery. It seems he has no path back to his own world, and thus may be with us for some time yet." The Fellowship regarded Goku with varying expressions. Legolas studied him with the keen interest of the elves, doubtless sensing something unusual. Gimli looked skeptical, his dwarf pragmatism questioning how anyone could just appear from thin air. The hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, mostly looked curious and slightly overwhelmed. And Aragorn simply nodded in greeting, already knowing what manner of warrior stood before them. "Can you fight?" Boromir asked bluntly, the soldiers' first concern. "A little," Goku said with characteristic understatement. Aragorn actually smiled. "He faced a Nazgûl and made it flee. I think a little undersells his capabilities." Before Boromir could press further, Legolas suddenly went still, his elf hearing catching something the others missed. "Something approaches," he said quietly. "From the north and east. Flying. Multiple entities." Goku looked up, his ki sense useless but his combat instinct immediately alert. Against the darkening sky, he saw them, 9 black shapes on winged creatures that looked like dragons dipped in nightmare. The Nazgûl, all of them mounted on fell beasts and diving toward the Fellowship with terrible purpose. "The Ringwraiths!" Aragorn shouted. "All 9! Into cover, quickly!" The Fellowship scattered toward nearby rocks and trees, but Goku stood his ground watching the Nazgûl descend. He remembered the first one he'd encountered, its cold aura, its attempt to make him afraid. Now there were 9 of them, and their combined presence filled the air with a chill that made breath fog and courage falter. "Goku, take cover," Gandalf urged. "It's okay," Goku said calmly. "I think they're here for me anyway." The Nazgûl landed in a semicircle around him, their fell beasts shrieking and snapping. The ring-wraiths themselves dismounted, towering figures of dread and malice, their crowned heads fixing on the Saiyan warrior with singular focus. The leader, the Witch King of Angmar, though Goku didn't know its title, spoke in that hollow, terrible voice. "Sauron commands your death or submission, creature from beyond. Our master has decreed that you are too dangerous to exist free. Join us, serve the Dark Lord, and you will be granted power beyond imagining. Refuse." The Witch King drew a long sword that radiated cold and darkness. "And we will destroy you." "I already refused one job offer today," Goku said. "And I really don't like people who try to force others into service, so I guess we're fighting." "You are brave," the Witch King acknowledged. "But bravery is insufficient against death itself. We are the 9, the Nazgûl, the Ulairi, servants of the shadow, slaves to the ring, and we cannot be killed by mortal blades. What hope do you have against us?" "Well," Goku said, cracking his knuckles and grinning despite the tension, "I've fought undead before, and you guys don't actually seem that strong. Scary, sure. But strong?" He shook his head. "Let's find out." The Nazgûl attacked as one, moving with supernatural speed, their blades striking from 9 directions simultaneously. It was coordinated, practiced, the result of millennia fighting together. Against any normal warrior, it would have been instantly fatal. Goku caught the Witch King's sword between 2 fingers and stopped it cold. The other 8 ringwraiths' blades struck his GI, his skin, his body, and accomplished nothing. Their Morgul blades, designed to pierce flesh and corrupt spirit, might as well have been striking reinforced steel. Goku's ki-enhanced body, toughened by battles against planet busters and gods, was simply too durable for their weapons to harm. "Huh," Goku said, still holding the Witch King's blade casually. "Guess you're not strong enough to hurt me." "My turn?" He moved. To the watching fellowship, it looked like Goku simply flickered and the Nazgûl were suddenly flying backward, some crashing into rocks, others into trees, their fell beasts scattering in panic. Goku hadn't used his full strength, didn't want to actually destroy the ringwraiths if they could be captured or converted somehow, but he'd hit hard enough to send clear message. The Witch King struggled to rise, its armor dented, its body broken in ways that would kill any living thing. But it was already dead, its spirit bound to the ring and Sauron's will, so it simply stood again, reforming, reconstituting itself. "Impressive," it hissed. "You can harm our forms, but you cannot kill what is already dead. We will rise again and again until you tire, until you falter, and then—" Goku powered up just a little, just enough to let his ki flare visibly, a golden aura surrounding his body, radiating heat and light and life force in direct opposition to everything the Nazgûl represented. The ringwraiths actually recoiled, unable to approach the radiance of pure life energy. "Here's the thing," Goku said, his voice carrying clearly despite the power crackling around him. "I don't get tired easily. I could fight you guys all day, all week probably. And every time I fight, I get a little stronger, a little faster. So even if you can keep getting back up, I can keep knocking you down, harder each time. Eventually, I'll hit you so hard your spirit can't reform. Or I'll just keep you pinned until someone smarter than me figures out how to destroy you permanently." The Witch King hesitated, its ancient mind calculating odds and finding them suddenly unfavorable. The warrior spoke truth. It could sense the vast reserves of power within him barely tapped, and the light he emanated. It burned even from this distance. "Sauron will hear of this," the Witch King said, a new note in its voice. Respect, perhaps, or acknowledgement of a worthy foe. He will send greater forces. He will not rest until you are broken or destroyed. Tell him I said hi, Goku replied cheerfully. And tell him that if he's got a problem with me, he can come fight me himself. I'm always up for a challenge. The Nazgûl retreated to their fell beasts and took to the air, circling once before flying eastward toward Mordor. The Fellowship emerged from cover slowly, staring at Goku with expressions ranging from awe to terror to profound confusion. You just... Boromir started, then stopped, unable to find words. The 9. All of them. And you... Are they always that easy? Goku asked innocently. Easy, Gimli exploded. Lad, those were the Nazgûl, the most terrible servants of the enemy. Warriors and wizards flee from a single ringwraith, and you just fought all 9 and sent them running like whipped dogs. I didn't know what else to do, Goku said, scratching his head. They attacked me, so I defended myself. Gandalf was laughing, deep, genuine laughter mixed with relief and wonder. Oh, Sauron must be beside himself with fury. For 3,000 years, the 9 have been his unstoppable hunters, his instruments of fear. And in less than a minute, you made them look like children practicing with wooden swords. But you said they can't be killed, Goku pointed out. They'll just come back, right? Perhaps, Gandalf acknowledged. But you have taught them fear, which is something they have not felt in many ages. And you have sent Sauron a message, that there is power in Middle-earth he cannot comprehend, cannot control, cannot predict. It will make him cautious, perhaps even afraid. Aragorn stepped forward, clasping Goku's shoulder in warrior's greeting. Will you join us? The Fellowship could use someone of your strength. The road ahead is dark and dangerous, and having you with us could mean the difference between success and failure. Goku looked at the group. 9 companions plus himself would make 10, and felt something familiar stirring in his chest. The same feeling he got around the Zed fighters. The sense of being part of a team, people working together toward a common goal. You're trying to destroy the ring, right? He asked. Save innocent people from this Sauron? That is our quest, Frodo said quietly, the small hobbit's voice steady despite the fear Goku could see in his eyes. Then yeah, Goku said, grinning. I'm in. I don't know how much help I can be. Gandalf said the ring has to be destroyed by someone humble, and I'm not sure I qualify. But I can protect you guys on the way there. Make sure you get where you're going safely. Then it is settled, Gandalf declared. 10 companions, 9 for the 9 Nazgûl who serve the enemy, and 1 for the warrior from beyond who serves nothing but justice. The Fellowship of the Ring, now with a Saiyan. As the company made camp that night, preparing for the long road ahead, Goku sat apart for a moment, looking up at the stars of Middle-earth. They were strange stars, different from those of Earth, but somehow they made him feel less alone. Somewhere out there, Bulma was probably building something amazing. Vegeta was training. Gohan was studying. His friends and family were living their lives, probably not even aware he was missing yet. But he'd be back. Somehow, someday, he'd find his way home. Until then, he had a new mission. Protect these people, help them destroy the ring, stop Sauron from hurting anyone else. It was just like old times. New world, same Goku, same mission. Protect the innocent, fight the strong, and never ever give up. Behind him, Sam was already trying to convince the elves to share cooking tips. Merry and Pippin were pestering Goku with questions about his world. Gimli and Legolas were already competing over something. Boromir was checking weapons. Aragorn was scouting. Gandalf was smoking and thinking. And Frodo sat quiet, bearing his burden, the ring heavy in his pocket. The Fellowship had formed. The quest had begun. And Middle-earth, for better or worse, would never be the same. In Mordor, the eye of Sauron turned its full attention on the problem of Goku. The Nazgûl had failed. Saruman's manipulation had failed. Fear had failed. The ring itself had failed, which left only one option: overwhelming force. Sauron began gathering his armies, calling in ancient allies, awakening things that had slept since the First Age. If the Saiyan could not be corrupted or frightened, then he would be drowned in numbers, tested until his limits were found and destroyed through sheer attrition. The war was about to escalate, and neither side truly understood just how much the arrival of one pure-hearted warrior had changed the fate of Middle-earth. The Fellowship traveled south toward the Misty Mountains, following paths that would take them eventually to Mordor, though the exact route remained undecided. Gandalf favored the Gap of Rohan, while others suggested the Pass of Caradhras. Each day brought them deeper into winter, and each night brought counsel around the fire about the best way forward. Goku adapted to the Fellowship's pace with patient good humor. He could have flown to Mordor in hours, could have carried the entire company if he transformed and used his full strength. But he understood now that this wasn't his quest to complete, it was theirs. He was here to protect, to help, not to solve their problems for them. So he walked and talked and learned about Middle-earth from companions who grew steadily less wary of the strange warrior in their midst. The hobbits took to him immediately. Sam appreciated anyone who enjoyed a good meal and showed proper respect for cooking. Merry and Pippin delighted in his stories, always begging for more tales about flying and energy blasts and transformations. Even Frodo, quiet and burdened, seemed to find comfort in Goku's presence, perhaps because the Saiyan was one of the few people who looked at him without pity, seeing instead a determined warrior on a difficult mission. Gimli challenged Goku to contests of strength, which Goku won effortlessly while making it look difficult enough to preserve the dwarf's pride. Legolas taught him to recognize the languages of different forests and the signs of weather in the sky. Boromir sparred with him, learning quickly that even when Goku held back tremendously, the Saiyans' technique and speed were beyond anything the soldier had encountered. Aragorn and Goku often took the same watch shifts, and in those quiet hours the ranger spoke of Middle-earth's history, of the great battles against Morgoth and Sauron, of the burden of heritage and duty. Goku listened, sometimes offering insights from his own experience, sometimes just being a sympathetic ear. And Gandalf studied Goku with the fascination of someone witnessing something genuinely new after millennia of existence. The wizard asked endless questions about Ki, about Goku's training, about the metaphysics of his world. Their discussions ranged from practical to philosophical, and Goku found himself thinking more deeply about his own abilities than he had in years. "You say everyone has this Ki," Gandalf mused one evening, "but most cannot access it. Why?" "They don't know how," Goku explained, "and they don't train. Ki takes discipline, practice, pushing your limits over and over. Most people give up before they start seeing real results." "Much like magic in our world," Gandalf observed. "The potential exists in all the children of Ilúvatar, but few develop it. We call those who do wizards, sorcerers, practitioners of the arcane arts. Yet even our greatest magic users are bound by the laws of Arda, channeling power rather than generating it. He gestured at Goku with his pipe. "You are a furnace, constantly burning, constantly creating energy from within. It is remarkable, unprecedented." "It's just training," Goku said modestly. "Anyone could do it with enough work." "I wonder," Gandalf said thoughtfully. "Perhaps when this is over you might teach some of us the basics. Imagine, men and elves with the ability to sense and manipulate life energy. It would change the very nature of Middle-earth." Before Goku could respond, Legolas appeared from the darkness, moving silently as only an elf could. "Gandalf, Aragorn wishes to speak with you." He has found tracks, orcs, many of them moving south as if shadowing our path. The wizard rose immediately and Goku followed. They found Aragorn crouched over disturbed snow, reading signs invisible to Goku's untrained eye. A large band, the ranger said grimly. 50 or more, heavily armed, moving with purpose rather than random wandering. They're tracking us. Saruman's work, Gandalf said. Or Sauron's, perhaps both. They know our route and seek to delay or destroy us before we can reach our destination. Want me to go deal with them? Goku offered. I can fly ahead, take them out before they become a problem. No, Gandalf said, surprising him. Or rather, not yet. Orcs are cowardly creatures. If you destroy one band, Sauron will simply send more. Better to let them follow, and when they strike, we face them together. Your presence will make the battle swift and decisive, and perhaps the survivors will carry word back to Mordor that the Fellowship is not to be trifled with. Plus, Aragorn added with a slight smile, the rest of us could use the practice. We cannot rely on Goku to solve every problem, or we will arrive at Mordor having learned nothing about fighting together. Goku nodded, understanding the wisdom in this. The Z-fighters had taught him the value of letting others grow through challenge rather than solving everything himself. Okay, but if things get too dangerous, I'm stepping in. Agreed, Gandalf said. Now let us return to camp and prepare. We will be attacked soon, tonight perhaps, or tomorrow. And when we are, let us show these servants of the enemy what the Fellowship can accomplish. The attack came 2 nights later as the Fellowship camped in a dell surrounded by rocks. Goku sensed them coming, not through ki, which he still couldn't detect in Middle-earth's inhabitants, but through the subtle vibrations in the earth, the disturbance of air, all the environmental clues his heightened senses had learned to read. They're here, he said quietly, waking those already asleep. All around us. Maybe 60 of them. The Fellowship rose smoothly, weapons drawn, forming a defensive circle around the hobbits. Goku could have ended the fight before it began, could have incapacitated every orc with a casual blast of Kai. Instead, he held back, watching, ready to intervene only if needed. The orcs attacked with savage fury, howling war cries as they charged into the camp, and they met the Fellowship of the Ring. Aragorn's sword sang as it cut through crude armor. Boromir's blade and shield worked in perfect concert, defending and striking with practiced skill. Legolas's arrows flew with impossible accuracy, each one finding a vital target. Gimli's axe rose and fell with brutal efficiency, the dwarf roaring challenges to any orc brave or stupid enough to face him. Even the hobbits fought, Sam with a pan and later a borrowed sword, Merry and Pippin with knives, and Frodo with Sting, the elvish blade that glowed blue in the presence of orcs. They were small and inexperienced, but they were brave, and they held their ground. And Gandalf stood at the center, his staff blazing with white light that sent orcs fleeing in terror, his sword striking down any who came too close. The wizard was holding back too, Goku realized, not using his full power but enough to turn the tide without dominating the battle entirely. Goku watched, moving only to deflect arrows that would have struck the hobbits, catching blades meant for unwary backs, providing just enough help to keep the Fellowship safe without robbing them of their victory. It was harder than fighting himself, required more attention, more precision. But it was also satisfying in a different way. The battle lasted perhaps 10 minutes before the surviving orcs fled, carrying tales of a Fellowship that fought with impossible skill. Led by a wizard of terrible power and protected by a warrior who moved like lightning and could not be harmed. As the Fellowship tended minor wounds and recovered their breath, Boromir approached Goku with newfound respect in his eyes. You could have ended that in seconds, the Gondorian said. Why didn't you? Because you guys didn't need me to, Goku replied simply. You're all strong fighters. You work well together. I was just making sure nobody got seriously hurt." "You held back," Gimli observed, cleaning orc blood from his axe, "even when that big orc almost took your head off with that club. You could have dodged, but you just let it hit you. Broke his weapon without even flinching." "Didn't want to make you guys feel bad," Goku admitted. "Plus, I wanted to see what you could do. You're all really good. That thing Legolas did, shooting 3 arrows at once, that was amazing. And Gimli, the way you spun and took out those 2 orcs behind you, I need to remember that move." Despite the tension, despite the danger, the Fellowship found themselves laughing. Here was perhaps the most powerful being in Middle-earth, gushing with genuine enthusiasm about their basic combat techniques as if he were watching masters at work. "You are a strange one, Goku," Gandalf said warmly. "But I begin to think that strangeness is exactly what Middle-earth needs in these dark times. A reminder that strength without arrogance is possible, that power can coexist with humility." The journey continued. They reached the feet of Caradhras, the Redhorn Gate, and attempted to cross. The mountain itself seemed to fight them. Snow fell in blinding sheets, wind howled with malicious intent, and eventually even Gandalf admitted defeat. They were forced to turn back, Goku carrying the hobbits through drifts that would have buried them, his ki keeping them warm despite the supernatural cold. "There is malice in this mountain," Gandalf said as they descended. "Caradhras does not wish us to pass. We must choose another route." "The mines," Gimli suggested. "Moria, the great dwarven kingdom beneath the mountains. My cousin Balin went there years ago to reclaim it. We could pass under the mountain rather than over it." Gandalf's face darkened. "Moria. I had hoped to avoid that path. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world." "What kind of things?" Goku asked curiously. "Things best left undisturbed," Gandalf replied. "But if Caradhras bars our way, we may have no choice." They found the western entrance to Moria 3 days later. Great doors set into the mountainside covered with elvish runes that glowed faintly in starlight. The doors opened to Gandalf's word, revealing a vast darkness beyond. "Stay close," the wizard warned. "Keep silent. And Goku, please, for all our sakes, do not use your ki unless absolutely necessary. Light and power will draw attention in these halls. And there are guardians here that even you might find challenging." Goku nodded, intrigued despite the warning. Something that even he might find challenging? That sounded interesting. They entered Moria, and the darkness swallowed them whole. The halls of Moria stretched endlessly into darkness, vast beyond comprehension. Gandalf's staff provided the only light, a pale glow that barely pushed back the shadows. The Fellowship moved cautiously, following the wizard through passages that had once rung with dwarven song and now echoed only with their footsteps and the distant sound of water dripping. Goku could feel the age of this place, the weight of stone and history pressing down. His ki sense, useless for detecting people, could still read the environment, and what it told him was troubling. Deep beneath them, far below even these halls, something massive stirred. Something old and powerful and hungry. "Gandalf," he said quietly. "There's something down there. Something big." The wizard nodded grimly. "I feel it too, the shadow and flame. Let us hope we can pass through Moria without waking it." They climbed stairs, crossed bridges, navigated chambers that could have swallowed cities. Gimli grew increasingly distressed as they found evidence of battle. Orc corpses, yes, but also dwarven skeletons, signs of desperate last stands. "They are all dead," Gimli said, his voice thick with grief as they found what had clearly been Balin's tomb. "My cousin, his entire expedition, slain by orcs and worse things. Before they could mourn properly, drums began to echo through the halls. Distant at first, then closer. Closer. Orcs, Legolas said, his elf hearing catching the sound of running feet and crude weapons. Hundreds of them. And cave trolls, Boromir added, his soldier's instinct reading the rhythm of heavier footfalls. To the bridge of Khazad-dûm, Gandalf commanded. Run! We cannot be caught in these chambers. The fellowship ran, Goku helping the hobbits keep pace, while behind them the sound of pursuit grew louder. Orcs poured from side passages, scrambling over each other in their eagerness to catch the intruders. A cave troll lumbered into view, roaring challenge. Go! Goku said, turning to face the oncoming horde. I'll hold them off. Goku, no! Gandalf shouted. The power you'll use will draw. But Goku was already moving. He didn't transform, didn't power up to his full strength, but even at a fraction of his capability, he was a whirlwind. Orcs flew through the air. The cave troll found itself lifted and thrown bodily back into its fellows, and within seconds the passage was clogged with unconscious and groaning enemies. The fellowship used the respite to reach a vast chamber, dominated by a narrow bridge of stone that spanned a chasm so deep even Gandalf's light couldn't illuminate the bottom. They started across, but the drums had changed rhythm now, becoming frantic, urgent, warning. And from far below something answered. Heat rose from the chasm. Red light began to glow in the depths, growing brighter, accompanied by a sound like mountains grinding together. The entire chamber trembled. Quickly, Gandalf urged. Across the bridge! They ran, and Goku felt it before he saw it. A presence of such ancient malice, such fundamental wrongness that even his combat-hardened instincts recoiled. The thing that had been sleeping in the deep places of Moria was waking. It rose into view as they reached the far side of the bridge, a figure of shadow and flame, easily 20 feet tall, wreathed in fire, gripping a sword of flame in one hand and a whip of many thongs in the other. Great wings of shadow spread behind it, and its form seemed to shift between solid and smoke, reality and nightmare. A Balrog, Gandalf breathed, his face gray with terror and recognition. A demon of the ancient world. This foe is beyond any of you. Run! The fellowship ran, but Gandalf stood his ground on the bridge, staff raised, sword drawn. The Balrog advanced, each step sending tremors through stone. You cannot pass, Gandalf declared, his voice ringing with authority that echoed through the chamber. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. Go back to the shadow. The Balrog struck with its sword of flame. Gandalf met the blow with his staff, and white light blazed against red, the clash of powers sending shockwaves through the chamber. For a moment, wizard and demon were locked in contest of wills. Then the Balrog's whip lashed out, wrapping around Gandalf's ankle, and as the wizard struck the bridge with his staff, breaking it, sending the Balrog tumbling into the abyss, the demon pulled Gandalf with it. No! Frodo screamed as Gandalf fell into darkness. Goku moved without thinking. He'd seen friends fall before, seen good people die, and he was done watching it happen. He leaped from the bridge, diving into the abyss after the falling wizard Kai, flaring around him like a golden star. The Balrog was still falling, still gripping its whip, pulling Gandalf down toward the depths, where ancient water met ancient fire. Goku caught up to them in seconds, moving at speeds. That made the fall seem frozen. He grabbed Gandalf with one arm, then turned his attention to the Balrog, the demon of the ancient world, the terror that had driven dwarves from their kingdom, the shadow and flame that had survived since the First Age. It looked at Goku with eyes of fire and seemed for just a moment confused. What was this golden light? What manner of being dove into the abyss without fear? Goku punched it. Not with his full strength. He was still learning to control his power in this world, but with enough force to send the Balrog rocketing downward, separated from its whip, its ancient body impacting the water far below with a blast of steam and rage. Then Goku flew up, carrying Gandalf, rising from the depths on wings of Kai, glowing like a sun in the darkness of Moria. The Fellowship, watching from above, saw him emerge from the abyss, impossible, miraculous, carrying their wizard back from certain death. Goku landed gently on solid ground beyond the bridge, setting Gandalf down carefully. The wizard was trembling, his staff clutched in white-knuckled hands, his ancient eyes wide with shock. "You," Gandalf started, then stopped, unable to find words. "You dove into the abyss. You fought a Balrog. You flew." "Yeah," Goku said, slightly out of breath. "That thing was tough, really tough. It hurt when I punched it. I haven't felt that in a while. What was it? Can I fight it again?" "That was a Balrog of Morgoth," Gandalf said, his voice shaking. "A Maya like myself, but fallen to darkness in the ancient days. A being of terrible power, older than mountains, capable of matching wizards in combat. You simply punched it." "It was pulling you down," Goku explained. "I couldn't just let you fall. You're my friend." The words seemed to break something in Gandalf. The wizard, thousands of years old, who had walked Middle-earth in various forms since the world was young, found tears in his eyes. "Friend," he repeated softly. Yes, I suppose we are." From below, a roar echoed up from the depths, the Balrog, furious, climbing back toward them. "We should probably go," Goku suggested. "Agreed," Gandalf said, recovering his composure. "Run! Out of the mines to the sunlight." They ran through the halls of Moria, the Balrog's rage following them like a physical presence, until finally they burst through the eastern gates into blessed daylight. The Fellowship tumbled onto grass and stone, gasping, shaken, alive. And behind them, at the threshold of the gates, the Balrog appeared, but it could go no further. The sunlight, the open sky, the laws that bound such creatures kept it imprisoned within Moria. It roared its fury and frustration, then retreated into darkness. The Fellowship lay in the sun, recovering, processing what had just happened. Gimli was weeping for the loss of Moria, reclaimed and lost again in a single day. The hobbits were comforting each other, the terror of the depths still fresh. Legolas and Aragorn and Boromir were silent, each processing in their own way, and Gandalf sat apart, smoking his pipe with hands that had almost stopped trembling, looking at Goku with new understanding. "You saved my life," the wizard said quietly, just to the Saiyan. "I was ready to fall, ready to fight the Balrog in the depths until one of us was destroyed. I had accepted my death, and you simply refused to let it happen. That's what friends do," Goku said simply. "They save each other. I've been saved lots of times, by Krillin, by Gohan, by Piccolo, by Vegeta, even though he'd never admit it. Now I saved you, that's how it works." "In your world, perhaps," Gandalf said. "In Middle-earth, we are more fatalistic. We accept doom when it comes, resign ourselves to fate's decree. You don't do that, do you? You simply refuse to accept loss." "Not if I can help it," Goku confirmed. "Not when there's still something I can do." Gandalf smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "Then perhaps there is more hope for Middle-earth than I dared believe. If the impossible can happen, if Balrogs can be punched, if death can be defied, then perhaps the ring can be destroyed. Perhaps Sauron can be defeated. Perhaps even the most unlikely quest can succeed." He stood, addressing the whole Fellowship. "Come, my friends. We have survived Moria, which is more than many can say. Now we make for Lothlórien, where the Lady Galadriel dwells. There we will find rest and counsel, and there—" He looked at Goku. There, I think we will find someone very interested to meet our newest companion." As they walked toward the Golden Wood, leaving Moria behind, none of them noticed the shadow that detached from the eastern gate, a twisted, miserable creature that had been following them since the mine's depths. A creature that had seen Goku fight the Balrog. A creature that now crept after them with new purpose. Gollum had found something more interesting than fish. Lothlórien rose around them like a dream made solid. Golden trees stretching toward silver sky, malorn leaves singing in wind that carried voices from elder days. The elves of Galadriel's realm met them at the borders, and even these ancient folk, who had seen the light of the two trees and walked in Valinor itself, stopped in wonder at Goku's presence. The fellowship was brought before Galadriel and Celeborn, who ruled Lothlórien together. The lady was tall and beautiful beyond mortal understanding, her power subtle but undeniable, her wisdom written in eyes that had witnessed the shaping of the world. She looked upon each member of the fellowship, seeing not just their present, but their hearts, their futures, the paths they might walk. When her gaze fell on Goku, she went very still. "Remarkable," she said, her voice like music and starlight. "You are not of Arda, not of the children of Ilúvatar, not even of the song that shaped all things. You are other, entirely other. Yet your heart burns with such purity that even the mirror shows me nothing but light when I look at you." Goku bowed respectfully. He knew power when he met it, and this elf lady had the same quality as the Supreme Kai, the quiet confidence of someone truly ancient and wise. "Ma'am, I'm Goku. I'm trying to help these guys destroy the ring and stop Sauron." Galadriel's lips curved in a slight smile. "I know what you are trying to do, Goku of the Saiyans. I have looked in my mirror and seen possible futures. In some, you fall to Sauron's armies through sheer numbers and attrition. In others, you slay the Dark Lord yourself but shatter the foundations of Middle-earth in the process. In still others, you help the ring-bearer succeed, and a new age dawns brighter than any since the elder days." "Which future happens?" Goku asked curiously. "That depends on choices yet unmade," Galadriel replied. "Even I cannot see which path you will ultimately walk, but I can offer counsel. Beware pride. Beware the temptation to solve all problems with power and trust in the small folk. The hobbits, insignificant as they seem, carry within them a strength that giants lack. It is they, not you, who will determine the fate of the ring." "I know," Goku said seriously. "That's why I'm just helping, protecting them. This is their quest." "Wise beyond your years," Galadriel observed. "Though I sense you are quite young by your people's measure. Tell me, do you wish to return home?" Goku's face brightened. "Do you know a way?" "Perhaps," she said carefully. "The boundaries between worlds are not impermeable. There are places in Arda where reality grows thin, where a sufficiently powerful being might punch through to other realms. But such a journey would be dangerous, unpredictable. You might return home. You might be lost forever in the spaces between, or you might damage the fabric of both worlds in the attempt." Goku's expression grew thoughtful. "Then I should probably wait until the ring is destroyed and Sauron is beaten. These guys need help more than I need to go home right this second." Galadriel nodded approvingly. "Another wise choice. Very well. Rest here in Lothlórien, Goku. Recover your strength, and know that when you depart, you carry with you the blessing of the elves. We have looked upon you and found you worthy." The fellowship spent weeks in Lothlórien, healing from Moria's trauma and preparing for the journey ahead. Goku trained in the Golden Woods, refining his techniques, learning to sense Middle-earth's subtle energies even without Kiai's signatures to guide him. Galadriel sometimes watched these training sessions, fascinated by this being who treated impossible power as simply the result of hard work and dedication. On his last night in Lothlórien, Galadriel summoned Goku to her mirror, a basin filled with water that could show things past, present, or future. She bid him look into its depths. Goku saw Earth. He saw Bulma in her lab, noticed she'd hung his GI in the window. Saw Vegeta training alone, pushing himself harder than ever. Saw Gohan teaching Pan new techniques. Saw his friends going about their lives, occasionally pausing to look at the sky as if sensing he was far away. "They miss you," Galadriel observed, "and you miss them. Yet you stay to help strangers in a world not your own. Why?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Goku said simply, stepping back from the mirror. "Those are my friends and family, but these people here, Gandalf, Aragorn, Frodo, all of them, they're becoming my friends too. And friends help each other. That's all there is to it." When the Fellowship departed Lothlórien, they did so bearing gifts from the elves. Goku received a cloak that would blend with any environment, though he politely explained he probably wouldn't use it much, and food that would sustain him even through the longest battles. They traveled south by boat on the great river Anduin, and it was here that Boromir's struggle with the ring reached its breaking point. The Fellowship had stopped to rest on the western shore when Boromir approached Frodo with desperate eyes and desperate words, demanding the Hobbit hand over the ring so it could be used to save Gondor. Goku, who had been gathering firewood, heard the confrontation and arrived to find Boromir advancing on a terrified Frodo, the corruption of the ring clearly working on the man's mind. "Boromir, stop," Goku said firmly, placing himself between the soldier and the hobbit. "Stand aside," Boromir said, and there was madness in his voice. "You don't understand. Gondor falls. My city dies. My people suffer. With the ring, I could save them. I could save everyone." "No," Goku said simply. "You'd become just like Sauron. The ring corrupts everyone who uses it. Gandalf told us that. Galadriel told us that. Even Frodo knows it." "You're a fool!" Boromir shouted, lunging for Frodo. "All of you are fools. Give me the ring." Goku caught Boromir's arm, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop him cold. The man struggled, tried to break free, but against Goku's strength he might as well have been a child pushing against a mountain. "I'm sorry," Goku said, and he genuinely was. He could see the pain and desperation in Boromir's eyes, the good man struggling against the ring's corruption. "I know you want to help your people, I know you're scared, but this isn't the way. You have to let Frodo do his job. You have to trust the quest." Boromir stared at him, struggling, and then suddenly the madness cleared from his eyes. He stumbled back, horrified at what he'd tried to do. "What have I done?" he whispered. "I tried to take the ring. I tried to—" He looked at Frodo, shame and grief written on his face. "Forgive me. I have failed you. I have failed the Fellowship." Before anyone could respond, orc horns sounded in the forest, many horns. Hundreds of orcs, Uruk-hai from Isengard, attacking in force. "Defend the hobbits!" Aragorn shouted, drawing his sword. The orcs came like a black tide, Saruman's specially bred warriors mixing with Sauron's servants, all focused on one goal: capture the ring-bearer. The Fellowship scattered in the chaos, Boromir racing to defend Merry and Pippin, Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli forming a defensive line, Gandalf's magic blasting through orc ranks. And Goku simply let go of his restraint. He didn't transform, didn't go Super Saiyan, that would have been overkill. But he moved through the orc army like a storm through wheat, each strike precise and devastating. Orcs flew through the air. Uruk-hai found themselves unconscious before they understood they'd been hit. In less than 2 minutes, Goku had incapacitated over 100 enemies. But there were more. Always more. Saruman had sent thousands, an army that would overwhelm even Goku's incredible stamina if he had to fight them all while protecting the Fellowship. "The ring!" an orc captain shouted. "Take!" The halflings. The ring-bearer is among them. Merry and Pippin were seized by Uruk-hai, who fled into the forest. Boromir fought desperately to save them, but was struck by 3 arrows, mortally wounded. Frodo, in the chaos, put on the ring and vanished, heading off alone to complete the quest himself. Goku had to make a choice. Save Boromir, chase the orcs who'd taken Merry and Pippin, or follow Frodo into the wilderness. He chose Boromir. The man from Gondor lay dying, arrows in his chest, blood soaking into the leaves. Goku knelt beside him, and Boromir looked up with eyes that already saw distant shores. "I'm sorry," Boromir whispered. "I tried to take the ring. I failed." "No," Goku said firmly. "You fought the ring's corruption and won. You protected your friends. You're a hero, Boromir." "A hero," Boromir repeated and managed a smile. "Perhaps. Goku, tell my brother, tell Faramir that I died well. Tell him I held true at the end." "You're not dying," Goku said, making a decision. He placed his hand on Boromir's chest and focused his Kai, channeling life energy into the dying man, a technique he'd learned from Dend, adapted and refined over years of practice. It wouldn't heal the wounds completely, but it might stabilize Boromir long enough for proper healing. Golden light surrounded them, and Boromir gasped as warmth flooded through him as his bleeding slowed, as death's grip loosened. Aragorn arrived in time to see this miracle, and his eyes widened. "Goku, what are you doing?" "Saving him," Goku said through gritted teeth, channeling more energy. "He's a good person. He made a mistake, but he doesn't deserve to die for it." The healing took precious minutes, minutes in which the orcs carrying Merry and Pippin fled further away, minutes in which Frodo got further from help. But when Goku finally stepped back, Boromir was breathing steadily. His wounds stabilized, though not healed. "The hobbits," Boromir rasped. "Merry and Pippin. The orcs took them." "We'll get them back," Aragorn promised. "All of us, together." The Fellowship had broken just as prophecy had suggested. Frodo and Sam went east toward Mordor alone. Merry and Pippin were captured, carried away to Isengard, and Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf, and Goku set off in pursuit, racing across the plains of Rohan with one goal: rescue the hobbits. As they ran, Goku carrying the still weak Boromir, the Saiyan understood that the easy path was no longer available. He could fly to Isengard, could tear down Saruman's fortress with his bare hands, could free the hobbits in minutes. But doing so would rob the others of their journey, their growth, their right to save their own friends. So instead he ran with them, matching their pace, being part of the team rather than the solution to all problems. And in Mordor, Sauron watched through his eye and finally understood the truth. He could not defeat this warrior through corruption, fear, or force. The Saiyan was too pure, too powerful, too dedicated to his friends. But Sauron had not survived millennia through direct confrontation alone. If he could not destroy Goku, he would work around him, would ensure the ring-bearer never reached Mount Doom, would win through cunning what force could not achieve. The war entered its final phase, and both sides prepared for battles that would echo through the ages. The pursuit lasted 3 days, Goku and the Fellowship running without rest across the plains of Rohan, following the trail of the Uruk-hai. They arrived at Isengard to find Merry and Pippin already freed, rescued by the Ents, the ancient tree shepherds who had risen against Saruman in fury at the wizard's destruction of their forest. The hobbits were safe, and Saruman's power was broken, his fortress destroyed by beings older than Middle-earth's kingdoms. Meanwhile, far to the east, Frodo and Sam continued their impossible journey toward Mordor, bearing the ring through lands that grew darker with each step. They were joined by an unexpected guide, Gollum, the twisted creature who had once borne the ring himself, who claimed to know a secret path into the Dark Lord's realm. Goku had wanted to follow Frodo to ensure the ring-bearer reached his destination safely. But Gandalf counseled patience, wisdom, trust. Frodo must walk his path, the wizard said, and we must walk ours. The war is larger than any one quest. Sauron gathers his armies. He will strike at Gondor, at Rohan, at all the free peoples. If we do not stand against him there, then even if Frodo succeeds in destroying the ring, there will be no Middle-earth left to save. So Goku made his choice. He would stand with his friends, fight in the battles that protected innocent people, and trust that Frodo would complete his quest. It wasn't easy. Every instinct screamed at him to fly to Mordor to ensure the mission succeeded through overwhelming force. But he was learning that some victories had to be earned by those who paid the price for them. That his role wasn't to solve every problem, but to stand beside friends as they solved their own. The War of the Ring escalated. Goku fought at Helm's Deep, where 10,000 orcs besieged Rohan's fortress, and he held an entire wall alone. He stood at the Pelennor Fields before Minas Tirith, where he faced armies that seemed endless, and discovered that even his incredible stamina had limits when protecting thousands of allies simultaneously. He learned the names of soldiers who fought beside him, shared meals with them, mourned when they fell despite his best efforts. He met new allies. Eomer of Rohan, fierce and proud. Faramir, Boromir's brother, who showed the wisdom his brother had found too late. The dead warriors of the paths, whom Aragorn called to honor ancient oaths. And through it all, Goku grew not stronger in power. He was already beyond Middle-earth's measure, but stronger in understanding. This wasn't his world, but for now, these were his people. And when the final battle came, when the armies of the West marched to the Black Gate to buy Frodo time, when Sauron sent everything he had to destroy them, Goku stood with them. He fought the Nazgûl in the sky, traded blows with trolls and Oliphants, held back tides of orcs that would have drowned the allied forces. But he didn't win the war alone. Couldn't. Wouldn't. This was their victory to claim or their defeat to face. The ring was destroyed. Frodo, against all odds, succeeded, with Sam's help, with Gollum's unintended aid, with the courage of a small hobbit who carried a burden too great for wizards or warriors. The Dark Tower fell. Sauron's spirit dispersed to nothing, unable to ever take form again. And the armies at the Black Gate saw the eye wink out, saw the darkness lift, and knew they had won. Goku stood amid the celebration, watching his friends laugh and cry and embrace. He'd done it. Helped save a world that wasn't his own. Protected people who'd become precious to him. And as Aragorn was crowned king, as the hobbits were honored, as Middle-earth began to heal, Galadriel approached him one final time. "The way home is open," she said quietly. "I have found a thin place, a tier between worlds. With your power you could widen it, pass through, return to your Earth." "Really?" Goku's face lit up. Then he looked at the celebration. At Gandalf smoking and smiling, at Aragorn and Arwen together at last, at the hobbits laughing with their friends. "Can it wait just a little longer? I want to see how this ends. Want to make sure everyone's really okay." Galadriel smiled, ancient and knowing. "Of course. Stay as long as you wish. Middle-earth owes you a debt it can never fully repay. You showed us that power need not corrupt, that strength can coexist with kindness, that a pure heart is the greatest armor against darkness." Eventually, Goku did leave. Not immediately. He stayed for the celebrations, for the rebuilding, for the weddings and reunions. He taught Aragorn's soldiers some basic key techniques, showed the hobbits how to fly, which went about as well as expected, and had one final long conversation with Gandalf about the nature of good and evil, power and responsibility, fate and free will. And when the time came, when Galadriel led him to the thin place between worlds, the entire fellowship came to see him off. "Will we ever see you again?" Frodo asked, the small hobbit looking up at the warrior who'd protected them all. "Maybe," Goku said honestly. "Your world and mine are connected now. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to come back on purpose. Or maybe you'll find your way to Earth. That'd be cool. You could meet my friends, try some of Chi-Chi's cooking." "Travel well, Goku, son of Bardock," Gandalf said formally. "And know that in all the songs and stories of Middle-earth, there will be verses about you. The warrior from beyond the stars who fought not for glory or power, but simply because it was right." Goku grinned that familiar bright smile. "I'm not really a songs and stories kind of guy, but thanks. Thanks for everything. For teaching me, for trusting me, for being my friends." He placed his fingers to his forehead, focused on the tear between worlds that Galadriel had opened, and let his ki reach through it, searching for home, for Earth, for the familiar energy signatures of Bulma and Vegeta and Gohan and all the others he'd left behind. He found them. Instant transmission! Golden light flared and Goku vanished, leaving Middle-earth behind, but carrying its lessons with him forever. He'd learned that power wasn't enough, that helping others sometimes meant stepping back and letting them succeed on their own. That true strength came not from transformation or technique, but from the courage to stand beside friends even when you could solve their problems for them. Back on Earth, Bulma's lab suddenly filled with golden light, and Goku appeared, his GI torn and dirty, but his smile as bright as ever. "Goku!" Bulma shrieked, nearly dropping her tools. "Where the hell have you been? You vanished 3 months ago. Vegeta's been impossible. Chi-Chi's been frantic, and wait, why are you dressed like that? Where were you?" "Long story," Goku said, grinning. "Really long story. Is there food? I'm starving." And in Middle-earth, in the Hall of Kings where Aragorn ruled, in the Shire where hobbits tended their gardens, in Rivendell where elves sang their songs they would remember. They would tell tales of the warrior who fell from the sky, who fought Balrogs and Nazgûl, who befriended wizards and hobbits, who showed an entire world that goodness could be powerful and power could be good. The road went ever on. For Goku, it led back home. But the journey through Middle-earth had changed him, deepened him, taught him lessons that would serve him in battles yet to come. And sometimes when he trained, he would pause and look at the stars and wonder if somewhere in another world his friends were looking at their stars and thinking of him too. The answer, of course, was yes.